Curtis Thornton celebrating with his teammates.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
For the Panthers, Pickett, a very good runner. Don't sleep on those legs. Oh, he faked the slide. Sauce time. Pickett. Did that work? Touchdown, Pitt.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Lefty from Australia, second oldest player in college football, kicks it back there, and that punt is blocked, and Oklahoma State falls out at the 5-yard line. Gray gives a huge gift to Oklahoma State.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
End zone pass is caught. Flag on the play. Touchdown, Gallup.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
And here we go on this Tuesday afternoon, a couple of days into the month of August, the month when high school football and college workouts, the NFL training camp, all going, of course, full throttle, and much more to come. And we will take you through the entire season, including right now with so much on your plate with what you want to look at. Hey, a couple of different notes. Austin Novosad last night reaffirmed his commitment to Baylor that had happened back in December, and Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Texas A&M were right in the thick of it. He will join us today live at 3:20. Grayson sat down with him in studio earlier today. That is up on his Twitter timeline, the Sikkim 365 timeline, and also up in the premium section as well. It is a very good interview, and you can go to that if you want as well. We'll have Austin here in a minute at 3:20, and Steve Wiltfong, 247 Sports National Recruiting Analyst. He'll join us on what it means, in his opinion, at 3:45. Mac Rhodes at 4:20. Much more to come. We kind of had an idea. We weren't positive, but obviously felt pretty good about Austin after his tour to make sure with the schools I mentioned. What do you think this means? What does his reaffirming his commitment mean, in your opinion, to Baylor football?
Well, I mean, that's, Grayson put it in his column last night. This is the biggest recruiting get they've ever really gotten, because they've won over A&M before in the past, but I don't know of many that they've taken from Ohio State and Notre Dame in the past either. And that's pretty huge that now they are swimming with the big boys when it comes to that. So that's a huge thing. And some of that might be bravado and reputation and myth when it comes to all that. But for Baylor to take that big step and get the number 8 ranked quarterback according to 24/7 Sports and all that, I think it's as big of a recruiting grab as they've ever had.
Yeah, I mean, that's an eclectic mix of schools. I mean, Stanford's another one. So I think you have Stanford and Notre Dame from an academic standpoint. That's really impressive that, he was not only checking the boxes as a football player, but also particularly in Stanford's case academically as well. But Notre Dame, obviously that's a tough degree to get. So I think that speaks volumes about the type of young man that he is on and off the field, his classroom work and playing football. But Ohio State, obviously, a tremendous brand, one of the top 2 or 3 brands, in my opinion, in the entire country. And obviously a great quarterback school with Ryan Day there leading the charge, churning out quarterbacks, a lot of talented players, a lot of talented skill guys, and always in the hunt for the national championship. And there's A&M who, I don't know. They've got a lot of money, and, playing against them in the NIL game in this era is not always going to come out in your favor. But I think the fact that Baylor was able to, beat a school who's got some momentum and they're in the SEC and, big brand and all of that, they don't necessarily have the pedigree that like Ohio State has. So, I mean, in that way, I don't really think it's that big of a deal that they beat A&M. But I think it's a big deal that they beat A&M given that his parents went there.
Yep.
I think it's a big deal that there's the whole SEC thing, and he's like, no. And, and whatever else came with what might have been promised to him or whatever. I mean, in the end, all those schools, all those traditions, all that NIL, all that, family ties, he ends up back at Baylor in the end. So I think it's huge for a lot of different reasons. It secures this class they've got coming up that right now I think is like number 15 in the country. And, I think they feel pretty strongly about having a top 20 to 25 class, so that would be huge for them, and the list goes on and on. But a big deal last night to get him locked in.
You know, we have the YouTube and all of Emery and Levi and Grayson and Jack and obviously Garrett. And by the way, Jacob is in town. A former employee of ours at the radio station, right, Paul? Jacob Wilson is in town. He's in the Marines. He's about to be a part of our group. In the middle of August, August the 15th, he came in, been in Hawaii. He left Hawaii to come work with us.
Yeah, the Marines were obviously so impressed with us that they sent us one of their best guys.
Yes, absolutely. If you're a Marine, you are the best when it comes to this country. So he's going to be involved with us here pretty soon as we add to the great talent and staff and depth and what we do here at 365 Sports, Sikkim 365 Radio. But one note, this is those replays we put up that kind of just float. They keep replaying whatever it might be. Last night, I got this in email from Brent Brown on a comment about Austin Novosad, and it's Novosad, by the way, his decision to reaffirm his commitment to Baylor. And Brent Brown goes, he wants to be his own legacy. We will have him at 320, and hey, good for him. That's what we heard, right, when Arch Manning committed to Texas, that he wanted to kind of have his own legacy despite the incredible lineage of the Manning family at quarterback. There are some other notes of interest when it comes to Austin, the recruitment, the tour that he took, and who wouldn't. I don't blame him. I know some people got a little bit kind of over the top on that, and I get it. You have a young man that's incredibly highly rated. Notre Dame, story there. Texas A&M, story there. Ohio State, story there. And we'll get into some of that today on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Here's a note as well that I heard about him. Mike Yurcich, who's the offensive coordinator at Penn State, was at Texas. He heard about Austin, Dripping Springs High School, right around the corner from Austin. He was at UT at the time. He was the very first coach to reach out to Austin before any of the camps or even anything like that started with him. He had Austin, he asked him to make a tape and a film of him, talked to the coaches, ended up offering another quarterback locally instead of Austin. Yurcich now at Penn State. And, of course, when they reached out, most likely it was like, well, remember when you were, not that Austin said that, but there's a story there about Penn State. Also, Joe Sloan, the quarterback coach at LSU, formerly the offensive coordinator at Louisiana Tech, saw Austin at an SMU mega camp, tracked him down, exchanged some DMs with him, but then never followed up. Then about a year later, he was going to send a text to Austin. Then all of a sudden, Austin's text from nearly, I don't know, months and months and maybe a year ago showed up on his text or DM, which he never had responded. And that right there probably kept Joe Sloan and LSU out of the mix as well. So, again, it's interesting some of the background on how things work out. Baylor and Austin Novosad, it does remain committed. There's news about the NFL and the Dolphins. We'll get to that. There's news as well about many other things, including the baseball trade deadline. Yes, we'll get to that. And Craig's got off the radar as well today at 4:45. One other note, by the way, and it comes down to Austin Novosad. This is, I think, Grayson labeled it, the best, most important win, battle, whatever you want to call it as recruiting. Think about who they beat. Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Ryan Day, who just like basically breathes quarterbacks that hit the NFL, and A&M and the lineage and the legacy of his family. That's incredibly impressive. And yet, even though he did kind of have to kind of make sure in the end, Sean Bell, Dave Aranda, and company get their quarterback for 2023.
It's an interesting thing with quarterbacks now. It's almost like because of the transfer portal, you can make the wrong decision, or you can really think hard about your decision, and you don't have to be rash. I know that it's a lot of times guys can get pressured to commit on the spot because coaches really want to have that locked in, but you can take your time. You can really look, and look, if you take your time and think about it and commit to a place and it doesn't work out and you don't play, believe me, you're a quarterback. That's why I think that's why they really changed these rules in the transfer portal. It wasn't necessarily because of linebackers and nose tackles necessarily. It was because of quarterbacks. They want their quarterbacks to come in and play right away more than anything, and that has changed everything. So, yeah, they can go and do what they want now and dip their toe in a lot of waters.
In what way?
Like, you don't have to. They're not. Look, if I commit to A&M, I don't like it. I can just go. Like, there's no. I can go those other places if I'm still good, unless I've screwed up and ruined my life. I mean, most of those things are still there for me. I might lose a couple because of other people in the spot, but the market's so open all the time. Like, okay, I didn't go to Ohio State. Well, if they still want me a year from now, I'll probably be an opportunity. I mean, that's how transfer quarterbacks work, right? I mean, what doors are shut to them?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I see where you're coming from. I don't know what doors are really shut to any players right now, though. And I was just kind of curious what you meant by the decision making and all of that. But doors are open.
Here's what we do know is that the transfer portal has changed everything. Right now, if you're Baylor, his commitment, not only did he commit in December, he reaffirmed it again last night after looking at 3 dogs and visiting and having other interests from others, as we mentioned. He will join us today here in the very next segment to discuss a lot of that as well. There's also a lot to look at when you see workouts beginning, seeing colleges have their workouts. Of course, the high school we mentioned yesterday in Texas began their workouts as well. In the end, one of the interesting notes about Austin Novosad, his parents were in Destin, Florida, about a week ago, and they randomly ran into Jaden Craig, the wide receiver from Jaden Porter from Lorena, who's committed to Baylor, who's like a junior this year. And they just happened to bump into each other. That's who Austin Novosad might be throwing passes to as early as next year or whenever it is. They had a problem with their boat, and they needed help. The Porter family, the guy who helped them out was Austin's brother, who was working at a boat company in Destin, Florida, who helped rent a pontoon boat, got it fixed up, and again, all of a sudden, there you go with another connection that's just a random story that a lot of people have sent over the last couple of hours or so. When we come back, the commitment, the quarterback, Austin Novosad, Dripping Springs High School. I played against them when I was in high school. They were a smaller school. Now they're in 6A in Austin. And in 6A in Austin, you have Westlake and Lake Travis, among many others. And Austin Novosad, next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Next week, I have an appointment with Dr. Warren, Dr. Scott Warren, who's the one that did a lot of work on my not front teeth, but to my right side of my front teeth, and pulled a couple of teeth and put in the Ways implants so that we'll have a couple of new crowns, hopefully as early as sometime this fall. He was recommended to me by my dentist. My dentist is Dr. Steve Childress, Stonewood Dental in Robinson. Dr. Childress has been there for me when I've had aches and pains, when I've had something flare up, even after office hours, and he has an amazing business in Robinson, Stonewood Dental. Hygienists and also those who help you out. And other dentists that are a part of inside the building, not just him, that do everything you need from a root canal to teeth cleaning to much more if you need it. It's Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Ideal MRI, MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
Last night, 7:30, Austin Novosad, quarterback at Dripping Springs High School, who committed to Baylor in December, reaffirmed that commitment after taking more visits in the last few weeks. And he joins us on 365 Sports and Sikkim 365 Radio. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, and David Smoak. Austin, thanks for your time. I'm sure it's been a busy summer for you. Did you feel any kind of sense of relief after 7:30 last night?
Yes, sir. I mean, it's been a long recruiting process for me, but getting that recruitment kind of wrapped up and feeling confident about your decision was definitely a relief for me.
Austin, what was it like you committed to Baylor early on, but then here in the last couple months, all of a sudden, everybody kind of wants to get a piece of you and get and see you and bring you in. How difficult did that make it? I'm sure you had a little fun with it, but what was the whole process of all of a sudden Ohio State and Notre Dame and A&M, all these people who hadn't called you before, all of a sudden pick up the phone?
Yes, sir. I mean, getting out to those big-time programs and, making a relationship with those coaches, you never know if those guys are going to be in the NFL or where they'll be. And I think just seeing those programs and how they run, I think was definitely a great experience. And, a lot of kids don't get to do this. So for me, just getting out there and checking everything out and making sure that I was going to go to the best college that fit me the best. And I think that, ultimately I got to see everywhere and, Baylor was the place in the end. So it was definitely a fun experience.
So, Austin, how did you reveal the news to the coaching staff? Kind of take us through that.
So it was actually yesterday about midday. I told Coach Bell and Coach Aranda, and, actually he made me say it again. I was like, yeah, Coach, I'm going to come to Baylor. And he put me on speakerphone, and the whole staff was in the room. And, they were very excited, to kind of get that, that confident feeling that I was coming. And so then I was like, yeah, tonight I'll post it. And so that's kind of how it went down.
Austin, how much of this also your decision? We know your parents, obviously were A&M graduates. How much of your decision is you wanting to build your own legacy?
Yeah, I mean, both my parents went to A&M, growing up an Aggie and, know all their traditions. But I think that, for me, just getting to Baylor and kind of doing my own thing and getting developed by Coach Bell, I think is kind of what I wanted to do. And I think I can be very successful there.
How impressed were you with how the Baylor coaches handled these trips just to make sure you were understanding of who and what you were looking at in the future?
Yeah, they were very respectful, and I think, Coach Aranda handled it great, letting me get to see these schools because, before every visit I let him know where I was going, and he was like, look, Austin, I just want the best for you, and I want you to go see all the opportunities that you have. And so I think that was, great, and I think that, I respect him a lot for doing that. So they all handled it great, him and Coach Bell and Coach Grimes. It was good.
Did you ever wobble on your commitment to Baylor? Was there ever a time you thought that quite maybe wasn't going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely times it got, close, and, other schools and the recruiting process did kind of gain my interest. At one time, I mean, I thought about it, going somewhere else, but, kind of looked back and just kind of really thought to myself, what's the best spot for me and where I can, have the most success. And, that kind of always trended back to Baylor. So I think that's kind of what made me kind of get back to Baylor. And I think taking those last couple of visits over this last month, I think really just kind of put icing on the cake and, kind of ultimately close my decision.
What's it like, though, to walk into a room and then you've got Ryan Day or Marcus Freeman or Jimbo Fisher and all these people, pitching you all of a sudden?
Yeah, I mean, the best of the best. They're all great coaches. All the programs were good, but they were all different, different philosophies, different staffs. And I think that, just getting to hear all the knowledge that they have, I took in a lot from all these programs, and I think it was a good experience for me. So.
How unique is Dave Aranda? Because on the outside looking in, he appears pretty unique, and getting to hear him more often than most, I mean, he seems unique compared to most coaches, but having, had the experiences with several others, how unique is Dave Aranda in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, he's just such a genuine guy. He cares a lot about all his players, the families he's recruiting, everyone. And I think that, he's a soft-spoken guy, but the words that he puts out are just so meaningful. And I think that he handles every situation the best that it can be. And I think that people, when they get on campus, they notice that. And, I definitely noticed that. And so, I have a lot of respect for him.
So tell me about your buddies. I think we're over at the house last night when you made it official. But did you guys play a joke on one of your friends? Was there some kind of jersey that others were wearing when he was there? Can you kind of clean that up for me?
Yeah, I mean, my friends, they were all over, and one of my friends, they're all in my recruitment and stuff, and have supported me throughout the way, and they got kind of confused at the end. And I thought I was just messing with them. But I had on a Notre Dame shirt. My whole family put on a Notre Dame shirt because we had some green and white balloons, obviously for Baylor. But he thought it was Notre Dame, and so he got all excited, and then it was Baylor. And so it was kind of funny just to mess with him. But, it was a good decision for me. So.
Austin Novosad, quarterback, Dripping Springs High School with us. Baylor commitment on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Now, Austin, do you go to work closing whatever else has to be closed? Have you talked to other recruits since you've committed?
Yes, sir, I have. I mean, I've met them all at the barbecue, the ones that I haven't met, but I've talked to most of them, so they all know and everything. We're all good.
What was it like knowing that there was an idea of your talent maybe a year or even before then with what you have, the arm talent and what you do as a quarterback, but that maybe some weren't so sure, and then all of a sudden you start rising up the ranks, the Elite 11, of course, which was earlier this summer, camps even before then. What was the interest like from a lot of coaches that maybe initially did not think you were for them?
Yeah, I mean, I think I always kind of saw it, probably my freshman year, I thought that I could do it. And I think that, just kind of being an under the radar kid, I think I just kind of let the media do their thing, and I put my head down and worked. And then I think that, just getting the exposure that I did, it finally got noticed. And so then coaches started to call, and then, I started getting recognized. And I think that from there, once you kind of get out there, I think it kind of the work pays off, and it kind of goes from there.
Were there coaches that maybe a year ago or so saw you, but they didn't really go in with you or weren't that interested, and then all of a sudden later on they were, that maybe regret what they were doing before?
Yeah, I mean, one, just actually my first call ever was probably my sophomore year during track season. I was about to run a race, and I called my dad. I was super happy, but Penn State was actually my very first call, and they never offered, but we had stayed in contact. I went up there and camped and stuff, but that was just kind of one that they didn't go all in, but we had talked, and then there was a couple others too, but most did jump in after.
Austin Novosad, Dripping Springs High School, Baylor commit, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. So practices have begun. I don't know if you guys are yet through that as far as the official start. Of course, yesterday for most of the state of Texas. What's that? Is the timing of that one reason why you made the decision now to get it out of the way?
It was. I mean, I definitely wanted to just have it closed before my season, and I think that this senior season is very important, and I kind of wanted to be done with the recruiting process so I can just be all in and give my team everything I have, because I think the recruiting process doesn't distract you, but at the same time, I feel like, your focus isn't all on your senior season if you're messing with other coaches or calls or whatever you got going on. So I think that, having it done for me was a big deal. I'm glad that I got it done.
What did you learn about yourself during this process?
Yeah, I mean, just, I think I'm very calm and collected. I think I handled it from what other coaches say the right way. And I think that, just finding the best place for me throughout this process was a big deal. And so making sure that I called all the coaches before I did commit to Baylor and, doing it the right way was kind of what I learned about me.
One more thing, Austin. You obviously mentioned Aranda's personality, and I've been told you have maybe more close to his personality or maybe Jeff Grimes. How do you describe Sean Bell's personality throughout this entire time?
Gosh, I mean, one thing me and Coach Bell have in common is just the competitiveness, always competing. And I think that, that's a big part of me. And, Coach Aranda is very competitive too. He's just a little bit more quiet than, me or Coach Bell. And I think that, everyone on the whole staff wants to win. You just get there either at, the barbecue or the OV, whatever it was. We were always playing games and competing. So I think that's something we all have in common.
Dripping Springs now 6A, Westlake, Lake Travis, among others now that are on the schedule. Austin, thanks for your time. I think it's great what you did. And if you had committed somewhere else, I just think it's great that you wanted to make sure. Thanks for your time. Good luck this season, your senior year. We'll talk to you again very soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Austin Novosad, Dripping Springs quarterback, committed to Baylor and then went on some trips. How about if you had a chance to visit Notre Dame and then Ohio State with what they've done with their quarterback play with Ryan Day, and then also, and even before then, and then also where your mom and dad went to school at A&M and what they're doing with their recruiting a part of the SEC and the push that they've made in recent years. And he sticks with Baylor at also Dave Aranda, Jeff Grimes, Sean Bell, and company. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Boozers Jewelers. I can pretty much exclusively talk here in the studio about how Boozers has affected my life in that a couple months ago, getting ready to propose, I went in there, and I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, what I knew about wedding rings, I was a 1. I was an absolute 1. I didn't know anything. Now, Amanda had sent me a lot of rings that she liked and something like this and that. So I went in, I walked up to Brad, and I was like, hey, I'm getting an engagement ring. And when his jaw came up off the floor, he said, great, let's go. Let's look at some stuff. And I showed him some things. He said, look, you want a custom-made ring? And I thought, oh, my God, it's going to cost me an arm and a leg. And no, and it was the price was reasonable. Everything was great. The way that they did it, it was a beautiful ring. She said yes, probably 90% because of the ring and 10% because of me. It was that good of a ring. It was done in about 2.5, 3 weeks. I didn't have to wait a long time. There was not a lot of going back and forth. all the process was really easy. And look, if you're looking to get engaged and you need a good ring, because believe me, the ring is key. I thought it was about love. It's not just that. It's about the ring and it's about the love. You got to go see Brad Boozer and you got to go and get the ring done there because they do an unbelievable job. And as a matter of fact, I just kind of showed them some pictures and they ran with it and showed me a couple things along the way. I was like, great, thumbs up, go with it. Picked it up, showed it to a few, outside parties. They're like, man, that's an unbelievable ring. Go to Boozer's. That's what you're going to get. Boozer's is the wedding ring store, and I can testify to that. Boozer's on Valley Mills Drive.
Cars priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Did you know the average American pays over $500 a month for their car payment? What would you do if you didn't have to make that payment for 90 days? Where else could you use $1,500? Keep your car payments at Genco. Buy new or refinance your current vehicle and have no payments for 90 days. Take advantage of our low rates and no payments for 90 days. Only at Genco. Subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies insured by NCUA.
My money, my future, my credit union, Genco.
It's summertime. There's picnics, reunions, cookouts, and so much to do. And Waco Custom Marketplace on Lake Air Drive in Waco is your home for the butcher shop that can help you with beef, pork, poultry, and seafood. They are spectacular at being able to deliver you whatever cut of steak you want. Bone-in ribeye, however thick you want it, that's great. They'll do it. Sirloin, T-bone, porterhouse, bacon-wrapped filet. And, of course, as I mentioned, they have pork, poultry, and seafood. Their Norwegian salmon is spectacular. Also, all of the sauces and seasonings you'll ever need, all the ingredients you'll ever need to make sure you have that perfect, flawless taste. So it's delicious whenever you take something off the grill. And a full-fledged bakery as well with fresh baked bread and kolaches every single day. Up and down the aisle of Waco Custom Marketplace, you also have what you need from knickknacks to snacks to more at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, Waco Custom Marketplace.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Director of Recruiting, 247 Sports, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Steve Wiltfong joins us, Paul Catalina, Craig, and David Smoak. Steve, thanks for your time. What do you think the commitment and reaffirming the commitment of Austin Novosad mean to Baylor?
Well, it means that they keep their franchise quarterback in the fold in the 2023 class. Look, this is a program that's on the rise. Win the Big 12, beat Ole Miss in a New Year's Six Bowl. It's a program that's got a lot of excitement around it. A program, just a school in general, where all the sports have a lot of excitement around it. And Austin Novosad's one of the quarterbacks that college coaches were most excited about in the 2023 cycle. He threw for almost 3,400 yards and 40 touchdowns as a junior. He's put on 15 pounds since that season, so 6'3", up to 190 pounds. He had a terrific showing at the Elite 11 finals, throwing alongside his peers, some of the best quarterbacks in the country. He's a guy that was coveted by Ohio State late, Notre Dame late, Texas A&M was looking to flip him, but Baylor, he's staying with the Bears, loves Coach Bell, has been in the fold since December of 2021, and loves the direction of the program and wants to help him continue to trend upwards.
Steve, as far as quarterbacks go, his reaffirming his commitment to Baylor kind of knocks down the 4-star quarterbacks to 2 or 3 now, and puts a few programs, including Texas A&M, in a little bit of scramble mode, doesn't it?
Well, this is now turning into spatula season, my friend. And, we saw Purdue quarterback commit, Ricky Collins decommit last night, LSU trending there. No one's feeling bad for Texas A&M. They had Malachi Nelson on campus this past weekend, 5-star quarterback, number 2 quarterback in the country, or number 2 player in the country. Committed to USC. I'm not saying he's going to flip from USC. I think that a lot was, I think that, USC is still in strong position there, but I think that, A&M, it just goes to show you A&M can get in there, and make some moves. And so, we'll see what happens. Ohio State last year signed Devin Brown, who at this point was committed to USC, ends up in the Buckeyes class and was incredibly talented. So, games are going to be played this fall with young men recruiting early and earlier. Some of them are going to rethink it later, and we'll see what that does to the quarterback shuffle as this process continues. But Austin Novosad, I think there was a time where he was strongly considering flipping to Ohio State too. So Baylor hanging on to one of the nation's best who went through his process the second time, and the Bears went out twice.
Steve, we got a couple years of sample size now at this point. Dave Aranda's certainly not the most outgoing, energetic type of head coach. He has his own style in doing things, and certainly his staff comes into play as well. We just talked to Austin, and he was mentioning, Sean Bell and Jeff Grimes and the great job that all those guys did. But what have you kind of gathered about Dave Aranda, his recruiting prowess, the staff that he's put together, and what they've done in Waco the last couple years?
Well, first and foremost, and I say this everywhere, Dave Aranda's got the best damn haircut in college football. They win 2 games. They win 2 games in the COVID season, 2-7 in his first year, taking over for Matt Rule, which was a program that rebuilt from 1 win. Took a couple of years to go 1-7-11. Dave Aranda goes 2-12, and I think you guys are excited about what you're bringing back this year, I would imagine, right? It's a top 15 football team on paper. And this recruiting class is certainly going to add some juice to the program. I think it's easy to fall in love what Coach Aranda is doing over there and his staff with guys like Coach Grimes and Coach Roberts and Sean Bell and company.
Steve, you were at the Elite 11. That was the first time I think I reached out to you, and you're in the middle of all that, the competition as well. And you mentioned Austin did very, very well. What are the differences between 1 and 11, or whoever ranks during that week? How much of a difference is there between them?
Well, in that setting, not talking about film or anything, but just out there throwing on air, in that setting, I thought Austin Novosad was one of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks there from a consistency standpoint with his accuracy and arm talent, throwing with precision, throwing with velocity. They try and make you uncomfortable and give quarterbacks some uncomfortable reps to go through. And I thought he was near the top throughout most of the competition.
Steve, who do you think the next big quarterback to commit will be? Now that it's Brock and Glenn and Austin Novosad are off the board.
Well, the highest ranked uncommitted quarterback right now is Ricky Collins. He's number 13 in the country. number 178 nationally, was committed to Purdue early. He's decommitted. He would be the guy that I look at next.
What about Chris Parsons?
Yeah, Chris Parsons out there in play as well. He picked up an offer from TCU last night. So they'll try and make a move. Mississippi State's had some momentum. SMU had him on campus for an official visit. We'll see what he does.
Steve, a couple years now of seeing sort of the dramatic shift in college football, whether that be conferences and realignment or NIL or whatever. Have you, as somebody who's been in the industry a long time, noticed that much of a difference in terms of the teams, the players, and kind of how the whole operation works?
I'm sorry, you broke up on me.
The last couple of years in college football, there's been a lot of dramatic changes, whether that be NIL or realignment or whatever the case may be. As somebody in the recruiting industry, have you seen those changes have a massive impact on the recruiting game, or is it kind of business as usual from where you sit?
Well, every program has to have some sort of NIL plan, whether that's showing the athletes what their current roster's making, or maybe what kind of returns they could have as soon as they're eligible to have them as well. So I think that NIL has become a relevant deal in college football that certainly wasn't around 2 years ago.
Do you feel like, Steve, that the change in landscape in the future with Texas, Oklahoma, and the SEC, and now USC, UCLA, has that made anything so far? Has that changed anything so far with any of those schools in their classes?
I haven't seen major ramifications one way or the other. Time will tell with USC and UCLA, certainly, as it was just announced for them. But Oklahoma and Texas always recruited at a high level anyway. And we saw Texas recruit top 5 classes in the Big 12, and Oklahoma's consistently been in our top 10. So status quo for those programs, Texas particularly, we'll see what happens. Is they've always recruited well. Let's see if Coach Sarkisian and his staff can create a culture, a new culture there that's tough and makes that football team physical, because that's where they've really been lacking. We've seen them have good quarterbacks and good receivers and flashy offensive play calling, and I say the same thing about USC. But those programs have been struggling around the point of attack, and the NFL draft has shown that to be true. And that's what Coach Sarkisian and company are trying to overhaul there. And I think Texas has done a tremendous job addressing it on the trail, but we'll see if they're able to develop and cultivate those players. Texas in the past has recruited high-profile offensive linemen and defensive linemen too. Last year they had the highest-ranked offensive line class in the country. They recruited a lot of defensive front 7 players from SEC country, and they're rocking and rolling again this cycle. I'm just interested to see what it looks like if the taste of the water changes in Austin with this new regime and their player development around the line of scrimmage.
That's the question everyone's been asking for a long, long time. Austin, you mentioned Novosad and what he did at Elite 11 and where he was. How close is he to being a 5-star quarterback compared to 4-star?
Well, we moved him into our top 100 recently, and we, our ratings are based off the NFL draft. So we have 32 5-stars a year. I think he's in the top 90 for us right now. So, no, he's on the trajectory up, and we'll see what kind of senior season he has and compare it alongside his peers.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate your time. We appreciate you. I know you're busy. Steve Wiltfong, 247 Sports, Director of Recruiting for them on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Yesterday we were talking about some of the hot schools and who's had you have your phases of May and then June, and we mentioned them, and then July, and we mentioned them. I'll tell you who had a heck of a weekend, and over the last couple of 3 or 4 to 5 days was Gus Malzahn and UCF. They picked up a couple of big-time recruits and commitments as well as they head to the summer and into camps here this fall. It's 3:44, Sikkim, 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Later on today at 4:20, Mack Rhodes, Director of Athletics at Baylor, will join us and discuss anything new that he has seen. And not going to be able to give us much when it comes to realignment, but just a few things going on as well. I want to get into a couple. It's non-college football. We'll get to the chat room and also text as well. The Miami Dolphins, yesterday we had some discussion. We had a segment about Deshaun Watson and the 6-game suspension, fined $300 and some thousand based on the suspension, whatever. He's going to get pretty much 98 or 99% of everything. The Dolphins tampered I mean, it was obvious. There was also the thought about throwing games. That was something that was Flores had accused them of. They lose a first-round and a third-round pick. Was it worth it going after Brady and Peyton?
Well, I mean, no. I mean, they didn't get either of them. And two, clearly something happened on both ends of that made Brady and Peyton not want to be involved with the Dolphins there to not at least make it worth it for them. But, almost 3 years of talking to Tom Brady when he was under contract somewhere else, and then last December reaching out to Sean Payton while he was still a coach of the Saints. Just really shady there. I think the NFL, probably needs several new owners because some of these guys are clearly not on the up and up. But I do think it's pretty embarrassing that they say they're all about the integrity of the league, and this is about the integrity of the league.
Absolutely.
But Deshaun Watson gets the same suspension that Stephen Ross does, and Stephen Ross gets a bigger fine. Yeah, he's got more money than Deshaun Watson does. I don't care how big Deshaun Watson's contract is. Stephen Ross is a billionaire. He has way more money, but
it's like $1.5 million. Comparing a pebble to a boulder, dude.
Yeah. $1.5 million to Stephen Ross. I mean, he just made that this morning, while he was drinking his coffee. So that's really nothing. So I don't know. I mean, it's a stiff penalty for the Dolphins and may set them back a little bit, but doesn't appear to me. I don't think the NFL is punishing people harsh enough because they want to appear to have, that they're strong and tough and all this, but they also don't want to hurt something on the back end that could make them money later. So I don't know. I think the NFL, when it comes to these things, is just embarrassing.
Yeah, I don't even know what to make of them and their punishments at this point. I really don't. The Deshaun Watson thing is still just very gross overall. I was reading stories last night. I know this is about the Dolphins, but I was just reading stories last night, and it was just really shocking to me, and I don't know why it was shocking, but the number of people who all basically acknowledge the same thing, and it's like, yeah, we absolutely know that he was up to no good and did a lot of weird stuff, and yet here's what his punishment is. But, like, even the people who, like, no matter what side you sat on of whether it was a right suspension or not, like, pretty much everybody in the world agrees that he is a scumbag and a weirdo and has issues. But this judge felt otherwise. And her decision made no sense when it was put under the microscope in terms of what she said versus what she actually did.
Well, he was a non-violent sexual offender.
Yeah.
What even is that?
Exactly. So, her response, her statement made no sense in that regard. I don't even know what to make of it. The legal system's confusing to me as is, much less the NFL's system of doing things. The Watson things, I'm just never going to feel like that's going to be good in any way. I don't see a guy who's repairing his image. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he deserves to repair his image right now. You know what I mean? Like, they're not, like, I was reading her statement, and, first-time offender. It's like, no, a double-digit offender based on the allegations. And I know there's allegations and there's not, but, they did their deep dive. And it's just like everybody knows that he was up to something, and yet this person decides that, well, he's a first-time offender, and, oh, he's suffered in the court of public opinion, or whatever her reasoning was, like, freaking spare me, dude.
Yeah,
are you kidding me?
Part of it, what she said, didn't she also say this because they had overruled on some other previous allegations or similarities that's why she feels like he then gets a break?
I'm guessing she's saying Zeke Elliott there.
I guess, man.
But like, I'll just say Zeke Elliott, which seemed like one that was a bit over legislated, but even still, Zeke Elliott got himself in a situation where something happened, and he probably deserved to be suspended, so it was maybe a little bit more. Over nothing. Everything's got to be looked at in an individual case basis, and nonviolent sexual offender and public image, like, okay, look, you're going to give him a chance to repair his public image. If you're a Gatorade, you want Deshaun Watson right now telling people to drink Gatorade? Nike, you want him? You want him driving your truck, all that stuff?
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
At least not right now you don't, but giving him a chance to repair his public image shouldn't be. Look, he's got enough money for the rest of his life, even paying out all these settlements that he's going to have to. He's going to be fine. So why not just drop the hammer?
But, dude, the whole thing is gross. From, the allegations to the judge's response, which still doesn't make total sense, to the Brown statement was just gross. It's just gross. Talking about, people being triggered by the events, and I just find it all very disgusting. And, when it comes to the Ross and the Dolphins side of the story, clearly they were at fault, and they were, putting their hands in the wrong cookie jars over and over again, trying to, get a little advantage. And, everybody's out there trying to find some advantage, just as the Dolphins were clearly flagrantly flying in the face of the rules the NFL has set out. I don't really look at that and turn it into, well, what about this guy, or what about Deshaun Watson, or what about Zeke, or any of that? I just, hey, they got hit with it, and I guess it is what it. I just don't really know what to make of the NFL and their punishments. I don't know.
We mentioned Watson quite a bit yesterday, but not as much, and so we've done that again today. This is also about the Dolphins and Ross, which is a comparable thing in a way, because it's almost the identical suspension for when he gets to come back October 17th. Brian Flores is a part of this story as well, because he accused the Dolphins of tanking, which you always heard back in the days of the NBA and wherever else. And they didn't quite, completely say that. And based on what I read, and for me to get to read a lot is very difficult and a challenge for me because of my attention deficit, but it did look like to me that Ross made it clear that he was very disturbed about winning and compromising their draft position. But when Ross put something in writing about it, when Flores put something in writing about it to administrators or whoever, ownership, Ross stopped talking about it.
Yeah. Well, that was probably savvy on Brian Flores' part there to do that. And again, the other thing about this is that these owners can do these things. Dan Snyder can go testify for 11 hours in front of a House committee, and at the end of the day, nothing's going to happen to Dan Snyder, because in the middle of all this, when the NFL knew the bad things were going on, they gave him 100% ownership of the team. So their chance to get him out was even made more difficult. Why do you think those guys got out too? Stephen Ross, nothing's going to happen to him.
Guess who the Dolphins' first game is against this year? When Ross is eligible, or is it
against the Patriots?
It's against. Where is Flores now? He's with Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh, yeah.
That's Miami's first game when Ross is back as the owner. Yeah. Is against Pittsburgh.
But again,
not that he's playing.
Ross being back as the owner, him being gone for 6 weeks might be good for the Dolphins. He sucks at his job.
Here's a couple of, I'm not going to read the entire quotes, but here's how two ways to look at what we heard earlier today, Miami. This is from Brian Flores. I'm thankful the NFL's investigator found my factual allegations against Stephen Ross are true. Here's Stephen Ross. The independent investigation cleared our organization of any issues relating to tanking and all of Brian Flores' other allegations. Completely 180 degrees the opposite, the way they look at this ruling, and of course a lot of it is legalese as well.
Yeah, I'm sure Brian Flores feels a little bit vindicated, but it doesn't, he didn't get all that he wanted in terms of the tanking allegations. So, good luck to him as he moves along. But it's been a wild, news cycle for the NFL. And there's stories like this that seem to pop up on occasion, but certainly a pretty wild 24 hours just from the Watson decision to now this. And, Daniel Snyder somehow still standing, and Deshaun Watson's been able to overcome all those allegations and act like nothing's wrong. Just the whole Browns reaction to this and his reactions, and him being asked about regrets and him basically just dismissing all of it, even though it's clear to everybody, even his supporters, that something was going on. It's so gross.
How many touchdowns are you going to throw? How many games can you help us win? Here's from JT in Pikes Peak. Sentencing Deshaun Watson to 5 years of playing for the Cleveland Browns is a bit harsh, no? JT,
it'll be, we'll see how it pays, just bigger picture. It is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and mope about, anything, because there's been, again, there'll be some other story that comes along, I'm sure, at some point. But, the rules are the rules, and he faced the NFL's process, and the NFL's process came out the way that it did with this, independent judge. And now they've got to Thursday to appeal, right? To announce if they're going to appeal that punishment or not, I believe. So we'll find out in a couple of days. I would imagine they do. How could you not? Because I think everybody's pretty much in agreement, other than Deshaun Watson supporters, that it's just a ridiculous suspension. Only 6 games for what's been alleged. And I know, keyword alleged, but But yeah, it'll be interesting to see their response because this story's not over. They'll make their decision on what they do, and then we'll go from there. So this isn't over by any means. But yeah, wild week so far in NFL news.
A couple of notes back to Austin Novosad, the quarterback, Dripping Springs, reconfirmed his commitment to Baylor, and Steve Wiltfong. Show memo. A 5-star will drop to a 4-star if he goes to a program that's not elite. A 4-star will turn into a 5-star if recruited by the Blue Blood. Now, the rankings will argue that. Steve Wiltfong kind of told us what he and how they go about their business. But, yeah, there's always been that thought that all of a sudden somebody that was outside the top 300 might be 75 after he commits to a certain school. And you know what? I've fought that fight, and I've argued that fight. I'm not a talent evaluator, so I don't need to be the one. But it does seem to be a little bit silly at times the way things go up and down.
I joked about that a couple weeks ago, but, I think it's fair. He's in high 4-star territory, and not everybody can be a 5. I do wonder if he had committed to Ohio State, how much of a jump he would make, or if he committed to some other, Notre Dame, for example, how much of a jump he would make. But he's been steadily making jumps up. I do think, with all due respect to the recruiting industry, there are definitely things you pick up on a yearly basis. You're like, that's quite the jump for that guy right after his commitment to, so-and-so. And there are things that are a little bit fishy, but, for the most part, all the people involved do a great job, and they're watching that film, every second by second. I'm not doing that, so I'll trust their judgment overall. But there are things like that do happen sometimes that really make you scratch your head, or they're just so obvious, like you don't even need to say anything. But I think, being a high 4-star, there's nothing wrong with that. So Austin Novosad's fine where he is, but it'd be interesting to see the other side of the coin. But thankfully, we don't really have to see that if you're somebody who's wanting to see him at Baylor.
We were going to have Brent Zwerneman from the Houston Chronicle. Remember him? He's the one that popped the story about Texas and Oklahoma and the SEC. He was going to join us at 4, but something came up where he needed to be with his family, and so he's not available. He'll try to be available to us at some point this week. So when we come back, we start the 4 o'clock hour that will include Mac Rhodes at 4:20, Baylor's Director of Athletics, and Craig's Off the Radar. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Don's Humidor and Coffee Beans on North Valley Mills Drive, just in the Townwest Shopping Center. They have a 48-foot walk-in humidor that's loaded with incredible cigars, whichever one you want. For example, Ashton, one of the great brands, CAO, Cohiba, EP Carrillo, that's the one my oldest brother likes to smoke as well. And on top of that, La Fontana. There's Padron, Oliva. You want more, they have it. Punch, Rocky Patel. Also, Romeo and Julieta, a great brand. Macanudo, Continue On, My Father. Those are some of what are dozens of brands of great cigars inside their 48-foot walk-in humidor. And on top of that, they have CBD products that are gummies that you can take in the evening or at night if you do toss and turn and you find yourself more often than not being able to get a full night's sleep or getting to sleep in the first place, and you waste 30, 45 minutes in an hour. The CBD product that you have, it used to be called VitaDreams. It's a different product, different manufacturer now, but it does work. Carol, Ashley, and Cheyenne, tell them I sent you. Don's Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Make this a summer sales event is happening now at Allen Samuels on the new 2022 Ram 1500 Crew Cab Lone Star. With special values up to $7,000 or get $1,500 bonus cash and 2.9% for 72 months. Ram trucks are designed to be durable, functional, and stylish. This legendary, award-winning truck gives you that first-class feel. Allen Samuels in Waco, the place to shop for Ram trucks. First responders get $500 extra cash.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients
who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old, and they come every 6 months, and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
I am going to attempt, as the chat room goes click, 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 on many different comments, from even the NFL discussion we just had to anything college sports and athletics to much more, try to pick out some of the college athletics chat comments today on 365 Sports and also the text line as well. In fact, remember about 2 weeks ago we mentioned Mike Leach and his way of trying to change college football, and he always has his unique way of looking at it. From Joel, I love Mike Leach's take, current status of college, NIL, and transfer. He says either you are pro or not. We've gone over this about the options you would have. If you're a pro, then you should be treated like a pro. No more hat pick commit day. Instead, it's like the NFL. You get drafted. You don't have a choice. You can be traded. You can be cut. Right now, it's all benefiting without any of the accountability. That will never work. That will never happen, but at least it's another idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think in regards to, the hat dance versus getting drafted or whatever, I mean, the draft, if you really sit back and look at it, it's pretty uppity and it's pretty much just a show. Like it's not – they could easily do the draft and not have 15 minutes to walk on the stage and hug Goodell and take your pictures and go to the back and go to the car wash and, hours later finally leave the building. So the NFL's got its own things that are kind of like that.
They used to do it in a hotel ballroom, and they'd be like, all right, you're up now. All right, this guy.
I do think that, in terms of it's going to be interesting to see the more that these guys make money, the more of, how they're treated. And I've seen some people, fight back on the whole, well, there's kids. It's like, well, yeah, we're talking about the kid, though, that just signed reportedly a $3 million NIL deal to play college football. It's like, but they're children. It's like, but like, can you have it both ways? Some people want to have it both ways, and I just don't think that everybody's going to be on board with seeing it both ways. I think that if you are, you're a 19, 20-year-old who's playing, for all intents and purposes, minor league football, and you're signed to $1 million NIL deal, I don't know why anybody should feel like they have to treat you like you're 13 and in middle school still. You know what I mean? Now, and I don't think you need to treat them like they're fully aware of everything the life entails and that they're, sitting there with the wisdom of 55-year-olds or something, but the middle ground will be interesting because it's not like, don't boo them. They're here on scholarship, just going to school and playing football. Well, now Bijan's driving a Lambo around Austin, so it's like, it's a little different now.
When you have those contracts, though, you have fiduciary responsibilities, and part of that means that you kind of have to be good at what you're doing. Say they were child entertainers, which there's tragic stories about. Many of those, but say that Bijan Robinson, Quinn Ewers, and Xavier Worthy were in a boy band, right? And they hit it big, and all of a sudden they're making $10 million each. All right, boom, like that. Does the record company, after they've signed their contract now, outside of the ethics of doing it right and making sure that they get the max out of their investment, do they owe them to they're just kids? Like, no, we got to put out a record and we got to go on a tour and we got to make this money back that we've invested in these people. That's what happens when you make that kind of money, right?
Yeah, I just think the age grouping is a little weird.
Yeah.
If you're talking you are in some cases talking teenagers, 18, 19-year-olds. So I don't know. Just for me, I don't look at it as though, NIL's in play. Now I'm going to yell at these guys where I wasn't yelling at them before. I'm not going to be any different any way, shape, or form as far as expectations or the way I view any of these players. So I guess it's kind of up to the fans out there that will decide on that. It's not like college players haven't been booed before. We've definitely seen it in some places. But
you just took my thunder, and I'm stole my thunder. Because we saw what happened with Charlie Brewer the last year at Baylor. But that is very rare. Very, very rare. I think most college stands, fans, attendants, whatever, may boo the program, but I really don't know how often have they actually booed individual players. I'm not saying that hasn't happened. Does that now open the gate because of what guy has some number attached to his jersey as far as dollar sign?
Yeah, and I think Charlie, some of that was obviously on him, but I think a lot of that, too, is just the way all it was kind of handled and the frustration of, it's so blatantly obvious that this is not working. The frustration levels were through the roof, and rightfully so. The way just all that kind of unfolded. And, they only had so many options, but, geez Louise, there were just times where you're like, are you kidding me? You might as well roll Matt Rule out there under center.
Well, and the option they had didn't even make the team the following spring.
So it was a mess, and it was unique because I think, sometimes some fans were booing him, and I think other times they were just booing the situation.
I agree.
Why is this situation as bad as it is? This makes no sense. Why are we doing this every single week, the same thing over and over again? Just madness. But yeah, I think that will be just something that's figured out over the course of this year. We'll get a good idea. I don't really recall that last year, where that came into play, but obviously NIL is a lot more front and center now, so it will be part of the storyline some ways.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, but I do think that Charlie was booed because he didn't play well. He also didn't have a chance. It was a combination of both, which is why he also didn't play well. But even when he had an opportunity, it didn't work out, and it was just – you're talking about a team that was a Sugar Bowl team to the next year. They're 2-7. The offense, horrible. Well, eventually they changed the offensive coordinator's position, offensive line position. Charlie just got to be the one that was the battering ram,
Yeah.
And even that was interesting at a college level, you heard the chant Zeno because of what he did in a Big 12 championship game. And yet he didn't even win the job the following spring. No. When Charlie left for Utah and, of course, lost the job early there.
As if
it's now at UAB.
Yeah. It's almost as if guys who do something for a living day in and day out know more about that than you do if you don't do that thing.
You mean about not replacing him?
Yeah.
I think, Aranda kind of even alluded to that. He never came out and said that. I'm not so sure that Charlie didn't take the beating because he didn't want to throw somebody else in there to take even more of a beating and screw them up.
But overall, yes. I think that's maybe a part of it. But also, sometimes you just got to trust the coaches. And I know it's hard in the first year, But you got to trust people that maybe know a little bit more than you do.
Well, they trusted him so much that as soon as the season ended that weekend, they fired offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach.
Yeah, but I mean,
well,
yes.
If they would have done that during the season, would the heat on Charlie have changed?
Probably. Yeah. I mean, because I think people just needed some type of release.
Yeah.
It was just, I mean, that was the definition of crazy. It was the same thing every week. And it was just pure madness to watch that offense roll out there on a weekly basis and just get hammered and walk off the field 3 plays later and a punt and then just go back out there again and just get hammered and walk off 3. I mean, that was crazy. And then all of a sudden the fourth quarter, like, boom, here's Montana to Rice. It's like, what the hell's going on here? But, yeah, and I do think that there are probably some college athletes that are going to be in for a rude awakening in certain circumstances because, yeah, they are more of a target having, the money flowing and the flashiness that might come with that for certain guys. Hopefully they're a lot more well aware of kind of that situation. But you can only argue, I think, if you're some people who want them to have their cake and eat it too, you can only have it certain ways. You can't have it all your way. And I've definitely seen some in the NIL game try to, basically make these guys rich for all intents and purposes and then turn around and be like, oh, you can't yell at them for anything. It's like, okay, which is it? Are they adults making money and have a job and it's a full-time job and it's a career, or are they kids playing like which is it? And I don't think that's quite been established just yet, but there are definitely some who are having their cake and eating it too and trying to, live on both sides of that fence.
I just asked in the chat room, and I probably should have put this up at 4, but have you ever booed an individual player at a college football game? Now, fans can boo. Fans boo usually the team.
Not the opponent either.
No, and not even booing the opponent. I'm talking about booing one of your own, a team that you like, whether it's UAB, where Zeno is now, or Texas State, where Rogers is now, or wherever. Have you ever booed one of your own, a player for a team that you are an alum, a booster, a donor, or just a T-shirt fan? Have you ever booed a specific player? And does that change now that dollar signs are attached to some of those names?
I'm trying to think if when Chris Ricks was the quarterback at FSU, because I was still a student there, if I ever booed him.
I was at a Florida State game where he lost to Florida, and I saw a bunch of T-shirts that says Ricks Happens on it, and, there were plenty of boos.
I didn't have one of those shirts. But here's the thing. He lost that one, and then the next year had, like, the greatest play ever and beat him in the swamp. So he beat Notre Dame and Florida in the same year, and somehow we still didn't like the guy. But it was I don't know if I personally ever booed him, but I don't think I was like, no, guys. He's a human being.
MP, I booed Dana's coaching player. Coaches, we know that. I'm talking about, have you ever booed a player? Timothy, yes, many times in Kinnick. At Kinnick, a player. Not in the stadium in Flush Jackson, laugh out loud, Chris Ricks. That dude was so hot and cold.
Ricks Happens was the shirt that you were wearing when I visited Tallahassee.
Provo, yes, I booed Jake Heaps. Nope, not fair, because you really don't know what is happening with the athlete. It probably changes now with NIL is involved.
And that, in going to Leach is where you started off with this. I mean, Leach has laid it out there, and he's said, let's call it what it is. If you're going to be professional and you get a bunch of rights and privileges, then, hey, then we should be able to, trade guys. I think his example was, I'm loaded at wide receiver, but it was basically along the lines of, I need a wide receiver. You've got a bunch of linemen. I need a lineman. You need a receiver. Let's make a trade.
Yep.
And so he's been saying, if we're going to treat guys like pros, then treat guys like pros. But you can't have, like I was just saying a second ago, one in and one out. No, it's a college athlete, and all of a sudden school matters and the age matters. But then 2 seconds later, he's an adult and he's got millions of dollars and don't tell him what he can do. So I do think there's a middle ground that people are kind of fighting one way or the other, a little tug of war. And for him, he's just saying, if we're going to make it professional and treat guys like professionals, let's go all the way professional. Let's have trades. Yep. Let's go full bore with this. And he doesn't seem to think it's all that complicated. I think people are probably in some ways making it a lot harder, or maybe it's just uncomfortable that they don't feel ready to dive fully into, this is pro football.
Yeah.
Or don't feel comfortable to freely just go, no, we shouldn't treat this like pro football. It goes both ways.
From Phil, I booed the player that Mike Gundy liked. Jennifer, I booed coaches. Kevin Steele comes to mind.
Bobby Reed?
Players.
That'd be a Bobby Reed reference?
Yeah, might be. I just saw one, Paul. Flush Jackson, my ex hated Ricks. I booed Spencer Rattler, the kid. There was just something about him that I didn't like. But was he your favorite team? Was he on your favorite team? UCF's Mackenzie Milton often recalls being booed in a bowl game against Arkansas State. I have booed the coach, Justin R., Gilbert and Charlie Strong, UT. I don't think I can't boo a player because at the time they weren't getting paid.
But see, now you'd be open to it, it sounds like. So there you go. There's one person whose opinion, to answer your question, would change now. It's no different than, I mean, it's different. It's not like Dak getting drafted and then signing for millions of dollars, but it's similar enough. It's definitely more pro than it is whatever it was before, whatever you consider that.
Kuz's Corner, a good friend of ours who does his own podcast, covers college football, West Virginia. Jarrett Dagey, Skylar Howard have been booed at West Virginia.
I bet.
Jeff Grimm, I've never booed one of my own. He's an Alabama fan. From the DA, absolutely, Craig. They want all the privileges of being professional. A professional and being booed is one of them. The quarterback, of course, is probably one that gets booed more than anything else. MP, now that I think about I lost you. Damn it. Sorry, here we go. Now that I think about it, I don't think I've booed a player on the University of Houston team, man. That's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see because there are definitely, changes that are occurring that I think it's going to take some time for people to kind of settle into, and maybe nothing changes, even if players are getting paid out in the open versus whatever, $100 handshakes they were getting or locker room envelopes and whatnot. But they sure are, across the Division I high-level board being treated like they're pretty much pro players. I mean, there's the whole class thing that you have to go to, which is the big debacle for people is, some are in favor of just, hey, what was it, the loose representation of the university? Like basically you rent the license out to be the Alabama football team and you get rid of the facade of school or whatever. That would be going pretty far with it. But, I mean, there's an argument to be made that they're basically pro players. So, yeah, I would expect that in some cases they're going to be treated that way. And that comes with the territory.
Justin R., that was Charlie Strong while he was at USF, not at Texas. I would be open to booing a player. Scott Frost, again, coach, opponent, that maybe
Taylor Martinez.
No,
did he get
Adrian
booed?
Martinez.
Gosh, I always say Taylor for some reason, but Adrian Martinez.
Here was one on Adrian Martinez, and I did not know this, is that actually a professor on campus made a flippant comment, ridiculed, put down by a professor at Nebraska.
Yeah, that was that quote was out there a couple days ago. I saw it, I think, even maybe last night. He used an example of Taylor Martinez in class to dunk on him, basically. Yeah. So, yeah.
From Bill Dingspeed, here's another one when we break, come back, Mac Rhodes. By the way, one of our great partners, Ashley Hodge, just entered the neighborhood inside of our studio here in Waco. Great to have him here. From Bill, I have booed the cheerleaders and the little kids that compete in the on-field contest during TV timeouts.
They're the worst. They deserve to be booed.
I will say I have booed. I've been at a Rangers game, and I have booed when they do this promotion where they let a little kid run and they give him 30 seconds to get to the base, and he runs down the baseline, and then they let him keep it no matter what, which I think is a terrible lesson for that kid.
That's soft.
And so you see him and 30 seconds go by and here this kid's tripping and falling and he's not getting to the base. And then they just let this little nerd keep the base like he's done something. He didn't do it. He had 30 seconds to do it. He didn't do it.
Everybody wins a ribbon.
But hey, I grew up on the Bozo show in the grand prize game. And if you didn't get to bucket 6, you didn't go to Disney World, all right?
Yes, Eric Worthen. I booed Spencer Sanders because he threw multiple interceptions. All right, we got a break. Mac Rhodes, Baylor's Director of Athletics, comes up next. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
You know that guy that walks around with pants that are just a little too short? And he's wearing brand new loafers, but no socks? Then he crosses his legs right across from you, and you have to look at his bare ankles. Ugh. Well, that's what it's like to drive your truck around without any step bars. Hi, Jay from Pickup Outfitters here to talk about one of the most common forms of truck nudity, driving around without any step bars, a rampant problem in Central Texas. Now, step bars do have their functional benefits. They save wear and tear on your back and your knees. They make it easy for your wife and your children to get in and out of your truck. But mostly, having step bars on your truck is just the decent thing to do. No one wants to look at your bare rocker panels. So help us end truck nudity and put some step bars on that truck. We have some great specials on either the black or the stainless steel chrome look. Check it out at createacommotion.com/steps. Don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution, and help us end truck nudity at Pickup Outfitters.
There are 26
26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the City of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show, whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics Mack Rhodes is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers. Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Baylor's Director of Athletics, Mack Rhodes, most Tuesdays, sometimes on another day or two. But he joins us again this week. We appreciate his time. Director of Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Is it safe to say that doesn't mean there's not a lot of work in the background, Mac, when it comes to whatever the future is for anybody in college football? But have we hit kind of a time where it's calmed down, or is that me misreading the room?
Yeah, I think it's a fair statement. I think obviously, now that football media days are over with certainly the Power Five, probably, because of that, less conversation. So I'd describe it as maybe a little quiet, but that doesn't mean that the wheels aren't turning behind the curtain. And again, I think we talked about it a little bit a week ago. There's some things, that probably need to fall in place when you think about, the Big Ten and, putting to bed their TV agreement. Everybody knows and understands that, Fox has that primary position, but there'll be opportunities for other linear partners and to see, who those are and then, where they land, with any, digital exclusive only partners. And, obviously there's been a lot of conversation about, the Pac-12 and ESPN and the 30-day window, and I think we all assume that's closing here pretty quickly. So, those are two things that need to happen, and those however that plays out may create some additional conversation, discussion, but I think everybody, I think every conference, every Power 5 conference is still, at work and in conversations about exploration and adding value. And, are there any next steps, or are we good where we're at?
Mac, we know the Big Ten has taken a couple of teams from the Pac-12. The Big 12 experienced that last year with Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC. But last Friday, when the Pac-12 had their one media day with George Kliavkoff, the commissioner, he seemed to take aim at the Big 12. Why was he not taking aim, in your opinion, at the conference that rated a couple of his teams?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think if I had his mobile, I'd give you his number and ask you to text him. It's interesting. Look, it's hard to be in these positions, and I certainly have admiration and respect for Commissioner Kliavkoff. But quite frankly, I got some calls from people going, "Wow, it's a little bit odd, that he just lost two schools to the Big Ten, as you mentioned, and really not a whole lot of mention of that, and really focused on the Big 12. So, but look, I get it and I understand. Commissioner Yormark was asked, and he talked about being open for business, and we've had this conversation, but certainly that wasn't just directed, relegated to conference expansion. It was to all kinds of different ideas and ways to add value for the Big 12. We've been aggressive in all of those areas, and we're going to continue to be. And we'll obviously see where everything lands. But I think the Big 12 has handled. We have handled our business in a very respectful way. There's some things that have been out in the media that have pertained to us and having specific meetings with Pac-12 teams, and those aren't things that we intentionally put out there. Those are things that, quite frankly, have been misreported, and that's not because of anything that we, the Big 12, have done.
Mac, when you hear the Big Ten conference commissioner all of a sudden say 12-team playoffs, 16, I don't know, I'm open to everything, automatic qualifiers, I've softened my stance on that after you had some conferences ready to pull the trigger and expand the playoff a year ago, and that's gone. What was your initial reaction to hearing all that stuff?
Yeah, I guess I'm glad that it's starting to circle back and be focus of attention, and that now all of a sudden there seems to be a willing spirit to get into the room and figure this out, and it needs to be figured out. I think it's what's good for college football. I think our student athletes would certainly be excited, whether that's a 12 or a 16 team. But yeah, those, we should be back at that table, so to speak, and having those conversations and finding a way to explore it. I know that just recently there's been some comments that maybe something could get done prior to 2026. And hey, this is fluid. As you all know, it changes every day. Maybe there's that possibility. Remains to be seen. But I'm just thankful and grateful. Look, it's a focus now, and I think that it has everybody's attention. and everybody wants to find a best solution.
I think it was Greg Sankey that came out after the fact and said, "Oh, that's well and good, but basically, talking's one thing and action is another." Would you agree with that as well?
I would agree with that right on.
Yeah.
We're really, really, really good at talking. We probably, and I say we probably need to get a little bit better at taking that talk and putting it into action.
Mac, I was
into that. That's all I'm going to say.
Gotcha. No, gotcha. I was curious. OU and Texas, their big SEC move, that was broken by Brett Zorneman. And, had that all happened just abruptly and whatever. Did you guys have any indication after the fact of when OU and Texas were planning on informing the Big 12 of their move, had that story not broken?
We were told after the fact by those two schools when they planned on letting I guess at the time Commissioner Bowlesby know, and I think some of us felt like there were good intentions and believe that, and quite frankly some of us didn't, anyway, it's water under the bridge, and we're moving on.
Yeah, I just asked that because I was curious. I never thought about when that was actually going to happen, and I was just curious about the timing of it and dropping the way that it did, just how much of a ramification or ramifications there were across college football that maybe we're still seeing to this day as a result of how that all unfolded.
Yeah, no, I think, Craig, it's a great point. And, look, without taking an hour to dissect everything,
right.
But since that happened, think about all of the moves that have occurred because of it, the dominoes. And it's as you all know, it's far beyond just, the SEC and the Big 12. And, it impacted a lot of other conferences, a lot of different institutions. And so there's this domino effect. Now, remains to be seen what dominoes fall because of the move from, USC and UCLA to the Big Ten. And, will there be additional dominoes to fall? And obviously that's what we're all, collectively waiting to see, and not sure. And, look, would that have been a month later? Would it have been 2 months later that we would have, known, that would have been shared, we would have been informed, officially. I'm not sure, but, here we are today. And, I do think at some point in time, for the good of college athletics, we've got to get to a point and a place in time where we have some type of landing place, and so that we can maybe transition from cannibalizing ourselves and so to speak, and trying to find a way to have some unity and really think about and move forward in terms of what's best for college athletics. And I know that the transformation committee is working on that, but you have to have willing participants. You have to have people and conferences that are collegial with one another. And I think it's been a difficult time, and people can say, well, it's just the nature of the business and in reality. And I don't disagree with any of that. And, we're in the midst, quite frankly, again, Big 12 in the midst of looking how we fortify ourselves. But, sometime here in the future, I'm hoping we get to a place where, all right, things are settled, and now we can all move forward, and here's what the next 5 to 10 years look like.
Mac, one more thing about that. As far as Texas and OU, the grant of rights, of course, we know goes for another, 2 or 3 seasons. But without getting complicated and asking you to dig too deep, you hear about the grant of rights. You hear about exit fees. You hear about the 99-year agreement that everybody, has for this and that. So in the end, if Texas and Oklahoma were to leave a year or 2 before the end of the grant of rights, do you know how much that would be as far as how much they pay? Has that been discussed among meetings you have?
Yeah, no, it's I mean, we you can sit here and try to project and all of that, but that would be what I would term a negotiated settlement. Look, it's pretty clear in terms of the exit fees and what that number is, and then how do you navigate the grant of rights? What's that value? If you leave prior to its expiration, and so that would be part of the settlement if you agreed and were willing to have those discussions, conversations.
Mac Rose, Director of Athletics at Baylor on 365 Sports.
Mac, going back a couple of comments ago, you mentioned about finding a landing spot for everything, or a place where you can kind of look forward and stop cannibalizing each other. Would it be productive for the conferences to get together and, especially for college football, everybody kind of state what they believe their end game to be for making this better? Because right now it appears that nobody really knows what that is, and if you're a Kevin Warner, Greg Sankey, nobody's really saying it out loud as what they want this to end up being when the end of all this reshuffling is over.
Yeah, I mean, I do, and and I hope, and look, and I, maybe I'm naive, but at some point in time, the 5 can certainly, have that discussion, have that conversation. A lot of it is or could depend upon, the structure of football and what that looks like here in the future. Does it remain under the NCAA, but separate, so to speak, and separate governance and maybe, separate rules when we think about, benefits for student athletes and recruiting and all of that, versus does it move outside of the NCAA? So I think all of that, certainly could play a part. And look, those are conversations that are obviously happening right now. Is it really good for us? Is it really good for college football, to have one Super League of 32? And you guys probably know better than me. You answer that question. I mean, I look at it and say, hey, college football is a huge part of the American fabric, and Saturdays are special in this country because of college football. And now all of a sudden you go from a lot of games mattering to maybe 16 mattering. I don't know, but that's the conversation that that I think we're having, but we probably need to go deeper and really think about, the leaders in this space really think about what do we want this thing to look like in the next 10 to 20 years, and where's the tipping point, in regards to self-preservation versus what's good for everyone. And I think we're gonna, I think we're on that journey, and we're gonna have to find that tipping point sooner rather than later.
I've brought that up to you in a way, kind of. In fact, maybe it was a couple of 3 weeks ago. It wouldn't have been that because you were out for a little bit, but about you ever thinking that there's no way that Baylor or teams that are right now a part of the Big 12 not being able to compete for the ultimate highest level national championship. Is that? Do you lose sleep over that?
I don't because a couple things, right? You control what you can control, and the one thing I can't control is Baylor athletics and how we do and how well we're doing and how we navigate all of this. Now, I'm grateful. I think, because of Baylor that we have a platform. I have a platform to maybe, potentially influence and speak into some things. But, it's again, you're always cautious about being naive and making sure you're never surprised, caught off guard. But I do have a hard time, envisioning, a world where, Baylor's not able to compete at the highest level for the, for championships. And look, I think it would be a shame if Baylor and some other institutions weren't granted that opportunity. And it was all because of, long ago geographically you weren't, or you weren't assigned to the right conference. So anyway, again, going back to the super conference, it's hard for me to believe that we're going to go there.
All right. Last week, Mac Rhodes with us for the first time in a while after being out a couple of weeks because of so much going on with the conference. Joins us again on Sikkim 365 Radio. Last week, the announcement was Startup Waco and what they were doing, and we had a guest in town. The CEO joined us as well. And there's been kind of like, wait, what is Baylor waiting on, or what's Baylor doing? That was the first thing that came out, and it doesn't mean that you haven't been. And now I know tomorrow we have Sam Weber on from Open Doors, and I'm not sure exactly how much you could discuss with that. But is this the sign of you guys no longer just waiting, but now it's simmering and about to bubble?
Yeah, I guess there's been this perception. You all obviously have brought it up that we've been waiting. I don't think we've been waiting at all. I think we've been active internally, meaning exploring different ways to do this. And we're always looking at short term and long term. And I think we've been successful because we haven't maybe navigated certain things exactly like everybody else. And we're very protective of our core values and the way we do business. And we want our actions to align with our words. And particularly when we're in the leadership business and we're leading young people, and we want them to see it and understand that we're genuine. And so this is a next step for us. There'll be another step as we begin to think about even the long game, but this right now I think is a great next step when we think about Open Doors in the marketplace, and we think about Startup Waco and the GXG exchange. And again, we're going to be true to our core values, and we're going to be true to we want our student athletes in this space, but this isn't just a handout. This isn't just here's X amount of dollars and now go on, right? This is teaching our young people about the value of their name, image, and likeness, and about actually out there doing something, making a contribution to our Waco community in return for whatever they're compensated. And so I think it's a great concept, and I know that we're excited about both of those next steps, and there'll be more. I think I was quoted as saying that we'll continue to explore opportunities and continue to do more, and we are, and we will. again, I think we're in a good place recruiting wise. We had a young man tweet something out, last night, and that was a young man that was being recruited by probably some of the biggest names in college football. And so again, we're in a good place with our program. We're in a good place with our student athletes. Our coaches are in a good place, and we'll continue to grow and explore in the name, image, and likeness area.
Today, Jovan announced some new changes, promotions, etc., additions. David K has been doing football and basketball, men's basketball at the same time, which is an incredibly enormous challenge, and he's done it just almost as flawlessly as possible. I know he's got a promotion. Brent Ingram's coming in from UT San Antonio. Your thoughts about what David K meant to the program since you arrived and what he's done?
Yeah, I wish he'd work a little bit. He's phenomenal. David, I love him, and I'll say this. It's hard. It's hard when you sit in this seat, and it's hard to be connected with everybody. And as much as I try, and I'm intentional with that, it still has its challenges, and obviously with COVID and everything we've dealt with here at Baylor in the last 5.5 years. But here's one thing that I'll tell you that I'll always be grateful for a lot of different reasons. But time in the bubble, and that time in the bubble was a great opportunity, obviously with our student athletes. But it was also a great opportunity to be in that bubble with staff. And, one of those staff members is David K. And to be able to spend some time with them that maybe I wouldn't have otherwise had the opportunity, that will be a really, really fond memory. And, David has not been given anything. He's earned it. He's done an exceptional job. You mentioned it. It's really hard to do just one of those two sports, football or men's basketball, but to do them both, I'm excited for him. He's going to do a terrific job and be a great asset, continue to be a great asset for us, but really, really, really happy for him.
Mac, one more thing, and we all appreciate your time. There was such this instant gratification after the news of USC, UCLA, and all the back and forth, as you mentioned, media days, and it was like, okay, what's next? And now, as I mentioned to start, at calm waters, it looks like things are at least quiet for now. Do you see anything that would affect the Big 12's membership coming anytime soon, knowing that anything can happen? But is there anything right now on the radar that you see that's imminent?
Yeah, you have to ask that question, and so I appreciate you asking. And I think probably the best way for me to answer it is we continue every day to look at things that we can do to add value. Obviously, we go directly and think about adding members as one of those avenues, and it is. And we're going to continue to explore, and so a timeline. I don't know that we have one. Stuff could happen. Certainly, prior to the start of football season. I think when football season starts, it's harder to navigate all of this, right? Just because of the attention and the start of a new academic year. So, nothing imminent, but we're continuing to look and to evaluate. Brett's first day, really officially in the office was this Monday, and so he's got a bunch going on. So, hey, before we sign off, you mentioned Brent Ingram, and we're blessed that he's coming to us, and now we'll certainly lead football. But he's done a great job at UTSA, and we're looking forward to him joining our family as well.
Thank you, Mac. Appreciate it as always. Mac Rhodes, Baylor's Director of Athletics, Tuesdays with us on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. we will have Craig Smoak. And off the radar here in the next segment, anything from what you heard from him that you guys want to chew on for right now?
I did like his answer on finding a resting place for all this and everybody getting on the same page. That he hopes that happened, but I mean, again, it's we're still a ways off from that, and he kind of pushed back on the waiting for thing in the NIL space. They weren't really waiting, but there's a lot of places that announced an NIL collective right away, and then you hear stories about it, and they're like, well, it's not really anything right now. It's just announced. It's just kind of throwing stuff against the wall. So the fact that they took their time to figure out what to do makes a lot more sense to me.
I mean, might as well just keep it to the top of the hour now. That was of interest, and I think that he was just pointing out that they were calculated about it. That when they weren't doing anything. They were just being smart about what they were doing and not just trying to throw money out there and then have the repercussions come back and hit them in the face. So I think, it's good to hear that there's, I guess for those that need to hear it, I wasn't one of them, but there's movement going on in NIL. The realignment stuff, I mean, I'm not surprised, but I thought it was interesting to hear his comments on, the Pac-12 Commissioner George Kliavkoff and his comments directed to the Big 12. I understand where he was coming from, as Pac-12 fans pointed out the other day. I still think it was stupid to sit there and, make remarks about a conference potentially poaching you or having talked to your members when you yourself said that your own conference was open for membership. You are the one that said there will be no Pac-12 teams joining the Big 12, and you yourself also went on to just move around and maneuver around and not speak on, the conference commissioner that was in an alliance with you that turned on you and that alliance and then poached your two LA brands and then could potentially poach more, which is why you're as unsteady as you are. That was not done by a first-day commissioner as of yesterday or by the Big 12 conference. The Big 12 reacted to what the Big 10 did, and the Big 10 is the one that has had all of the actions that you would think would be the most bothersome, but because they're in a bigger position of power, and probably because George Kliavkoff will probably need to throw a life raft out to Kevin Warren at some point in time, he doesn't want to ruffle those feathers, or maybe he's just scared of ruffling those feathers. I don't know, but I still feel like, if you want to act like you got a backbone and act tough, I understand why you didn't say what you said, but I think it's also silly to say what you said about one party but not the other. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does.
I know he's playing defense and whatever, but still, I found that kind of silly to not make any mention of Kevin Warren or the Big Ten when they've done everything. They've basically ruined your family, and you are just like, but this guy over here that might do something here in the future, maybe, or has made phone calls, is the one that we want to. I thought that was so non-tough guy.
Two things we had to discuss was Kliavkoff's comments Friday, and Mac Rhodes was probably glad we brought it up, and he said, I'll try to find, if he had the cell phone number, I could text him. And then also, and this is going to be the case for probably quite some time, anything imminent. He didn't say no. He didn't say yes, because he said everything is kind of, well, you don't know. We don't quite know. We don't. And
and they're also not the only ones in charge of this thing. I mean,
Craig versus Kliavkoff in a steel cage match.
I mean, I'd like my chances at this point. I'm sure I wouldn't get those West Coast ratings, especially if we did it, at a certain time zone or what time window or whatever. But no, I mean, I'd say the same thing to his face. I don't care what's he going to tell me. Like, well, I had to do whatever. I mean, I understand it. I'm just saying I don't like it or agree with it. Well, I think he would have come off a lot tougher if he would actually thrown a little spare at Kevin Warren in the Big Ten. I mean, dude, you deserve to, like, after what's happened. Again, we need to run down the list of how the Big Ten just used and abused the Pac-12 over the last couple of years. They totally used you. And you want to take you want to shoot slugs at another conference because they might poach a couple teams that'll put you under. You know why that would put you under? It's because the Big Ten dug your grave already.
Well, I mean, let's go back to 2020, which was not.
Why are they not stable right now, Paul?
Yeah.
Because there's a fear that teams might leave. Is that because of the Big 12?
No.
No, it's because of Oregon and Washington to the Big 10. That's why they are unstable right now, and that's after the Big 10 took USC and UCLA, and we can go on with this. So, yeah.
But remember, the Pac-12 has always been seen, even before Kliavkoff, as the Big Ten's lapdog.
Oh, yeah.
2020, the Big Ten canceled their season, and the Pac-12 was like, us too. We're us too.
Alliance.
And then 2021, there's an alliance. 2022, the Big Ten just does what they want with the Pac-12. And George Kliavkoff's job when he was supposed to come in there was to dismiss that idea that they were in the Big Ten's lap. But nothing has changed that at all. And it's even worse. The Big Ten doesn't even respect it enough to keep him in their lap.
No, and Kevin, and like, again, for the Pac-12 fans who may not hear it the first time I said it, I get it. I get why he took slugs at the Big 12. I'm just saying I would have taken that a lot better. I totally understand why. I don't even have a problem with that. I have a problem with it only because he didn't do so towards the Big Ten or Kevin Warren in any way, shape, or form. He totally chickened out, quite frankly, when there's this big press. The Pac-12 is bringing Power 5 media days to a close. Anticipated because, of course, it's anticipated. They just lost their L.A. schools. We haven't heard their commissioner talk about it at all. And you use this podium and this opportunity to take slugs at who might do something to you or who's made some phone calls versus the one that's beaten you up, slapped your mama, kicked your dad's ass too, and is now taking over your house. But, yeah, the ones that have called a couple times, those are the bad guys. Like, come on. Like, that's where I just have no respect for those comments.
That's my son. That's Craig. He's co-host with Paul and me. Smoke Dragon. Paul, he's out. Breathing fire.
Get him a tattoo of like a dragon on his arm.
The DA, as George K. would say, those SOBs at the Big 12 throwing grenades in my precious little conference. Never mind, the Big 10 just launched a nuke into my conference. And some of you also have many other, I guess, opinions about it as well. But, yeah, I mean,
I'm sure he's a nice guy, but I'd have no problem telling him exactly what I just said. I mean, throw one slug at least at the Big Ten and something. But, man, you just took it all and just keep taking it, basically. But then you're going to act tough with somebody else who just started his job. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm not scared of that in any way, shape, or form. And I doubt that that Brett Yormark is either.
Slapped your mama and your daddy and took over your house.
Did they not?
No.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, basically.
It's just an analogy.
Yeah.
All right, Craig, normally with Off the Radar at 4:45, we'll do it in the next segment. Garrett, do you have the video of Arizona in the new locker room? It's very short, and everybody gets these brand new, and Arizona football needs to get better. They know that, and, of course, their name has been brought up. Who knows what happens with them? But Garrett showed me this. This is... Now, there you go. All right. Is that the ASU sign? I can't. I got to be careful with fingers I put up. But don't they have like the fork or whatever?
I don't know what they do.
But somebody asked about that in one of the responses. Garrett, thanks for sharing that with me. And man, if for a second there you thought maybe it's beautiful. All of them are incredible. I didn't know if I was at a nightclub or if it was a locker room, but they're having fun. Good for Arizona and good for the football team, and hope they get better because they have struggled, no question about it. When we come back, Craig Smoak and Off the Radar, Sikkim 365 and Sikkim 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, got a lot of great deals going on now over at Richard Carr. They're the people that you can count on and you've been able to count on for over 20 years in Central Texas. They do a great job over there. Had my car with the good folks over at Richard Carr not that long ago, get all fixed up. Didn't even buy my car there originally, but I've had to go over there a couple times, and each occasion I feel like I did buy my car from them because they are the people that you can count on, that I've counted on, and I can vouch for their tremendous customer service. But if you're in the market for a newer pre-owned vehicle, don't wait any longer. They've got cars and trucks arriving weekly, so get your name on the inbound vehicle list, and by doing so, you can reserve a brand new GMC Buick or Cadillac before anybody else. However, if you're looking to buy new, get in that new car as soon as it arrives by getting on the inbound vehicle list. But if you need something today, then consider the dozens of quality pre-owned cars and trucks over at Richard Carr. All of them have undergone a 172-point inspection. You can drive them with peace of mind, and they will pay top dollar on your trade with dozens of lending options. Richard Carr says yes to loans when others say no. So go online or come by to check out their inventory today. And as I mentioned, they've got that award-winning customer service and collision center. Service center is fantastic. I again vouch for it personally. If you want to drive your current car longer, well, check out the great deals like a price match guarantee on new tires and oil changes as low as $63.95 over at the Collision and Service Center. Rich Carr is the dealer that you can count on, not only for a great deal, but also to get superior service for the life of your car. So trust those good local people you can count on for over 23 years in Central Texas, run by proud Wacoans, proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome. It's Off the Radar here on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. I wish I would have known I was doing this at the top of the hour because this is more for kind of a closing out an hour, not full-blown, launching the final hour. This is kind of put a bow on hour number 2. So hopefully it works out okay here because these are just some scattershoot, or there's some stories that it's a scattershoot of things going on across the sports world. And let's start off with, I guess, Greg Norman. and Live Golf. Because, I mean, why not, right? We've talked about Deshaun Watson. What else can we talk about that's like a controversial sports story? But it was actually a money figure, and those have been thrown out a lot when it comes to Live Golf and sports washing and everything else. And I've seen the debate online. I'm not a golf fan, so the whole Live versus PGA thing, I've kind of just observed that, quite frankly. But I did find it really interesting when yesterday the news came out that Greg Norman revealed how much money was offered to Tiger Woods to join Live Golf, and that number was apparently, per Sam Stein, $700 to $800 million. And Tiger Woods turned it down to stick with the PGA. And I immediately saw some people, well, he's already a millionaire. Like, yeah, you're right. Like Jeff Bezos, when he got his first billion, he just said, no, I'm done there. No, wait, that didn't happen, did it? That's right.
If I could ever get to $1 million, I'd be done. But
you say that, but then you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't.
If you make 40, you want 80.
I used to say that. I knew people, and I used to say the same thing. Like, man, if I can just get to 1,000 Twitter followers, and then it was, guess what, 5,000, and then guess what, if I can just get to 10,000, that would be great. And I did that ultimately, and I am kind of okay with that now. I am kind of just done worrying about how much it gets to. But, yeah, of course, it's just human nature, I think, to always constantly want more. So I'm not buying the whole, well, he's already rich. No, that's just trying to be dismissive of what it really means. And I'm not saying that Tiger's like the greatest American of all time or anything, but damn it, I respect him saying no to $700 to $800 million. Anybody who's trying to downplay that, I don't give a damn who we're talking about. If it's Bezos, Gates, Musk, whoever, turning down $700 to $800 million for any reason, especially just to play golf, that's admirable to me. Well, I don't care what anybody says.
And they offered him knowing that his health wasn't enough to where he would play more than a couple of events for them. And he was more – I also respect him for not going – because he knew that he was going to be their mascot because he wouldn't be able to play golf that much. We've seen that already. And that's winding down for Tiger because of the accident and all that. So, yeah, I mean, even so much more. Like, no, I'm not doing that. And he reaffirmed his loyalty to the PGA even earlier. And part of it for Tiger was, why would I leave what I've helped build? Yeah. Because the PGA, not the PGA was one thing before Tiger, and it's a completely different thing after him. And that's because of him. He built that. And to just leave it.
He built it to the next stratosphere.
To the next level,
because Palmer and Nicklaus were a part of it first,
Yeah, but like they got to this level, and then it kind of stayed in, a spot, and then Tiger came along and really grew it to a place it never even fathomed it would go before. So, yeah, absolutely, Smokey and I are unabashed Tiger fans. We love Tiger. Just absolute great to have a guy with backbone say, no, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, the Liv had a pretty good stretch. They're now having a break. There's not going to be a tournament for quite some time. I did see with the PGA Tour today came out with another record-breaking how much they will dish out in 2022-23 season, which is in response, again, to what Liv is doing. But they had a pretty good run there. That right there is not a pro or four. It's just, wow, because Norman wasn't even a part of it yet. So you wonder, since he's the CEO and the face of Liv, or Mickelson, how much did Norman get if they offered Tiger $700, $800? If Mickelson's getting $100 million or whatever Dustin Johnson's getting, you wonder what Greg Norman's getting because he's taking all the bullets. At least if there are bullets, he's the one that's taking them along with Mickelson.
Yeah, so that was very interesting to see that reported figure, $700 to $800 million, and Tiger Woods says no. He wants to continue, helping with what he's helped build, and I do think that is admirable. I don't know how you can dismiss somebody turning down that kind of money and try to poke a hole through that, no matter what they've done or where they've been or whatever. That's just spare me on that. This is a somewhat of a local note, but also college football related. Todd Berry has announced he plans to retire in January of 2024, the head of the AFCA, American Football Coaches Association. When he retires this upcoming, or I guess 2 Januaries from now, actually, about a year and a half, they will name a new director. He was at UL Monroe, joined the AFCA in 2016. And he actually had a bad case of COVID earlier this year. They mentioned that in one of the articles I read, but he's fully recovered since that occurred in January. So, yeah, Todd Berry's going to be stepping down. Still a ways to go, but I've obviously had him on many times.
Great guy.
Didn't I bring that up Someone told me about that. I actually
About his
texted
COVID?
him. Yeah, about him stepping down or whatever. And go ahead.
I don't know where you're going with it.
No, I do wonder about what they're going to do. Who would be next in charge when Todd Berry leaves?
I don't know. I mean, there's thousands of coaches out there that I'm sure could probably, recommend somebody or put themselves up for it. I don't know.
It was, Coach Taft had stepped down, from Baylor at the time and was totally available for it and the perfect guy for it for the longest time. And then when he retired, it was Todd Berry. And so who's the next coach that's ready to get out of X's and O's and into advocacy?
Well, you have to move to Waco. And, of course, that where Waco is right now with how it's blossoming business-wise, it might be now more attractive than it's ever been before. Grant was already here. Coach Taft, the great Taft, was here. And Barry, of course, was at ULM, I think, at the time. What about someone like that? You wish the guy at the AFCA could also be the college football commissioner and be the same person. In a lot of ways.
But that's you couldn't do it because it's
conflict.
You're the advocate for the coaches, and they're not always right either.
I wonder what Mac Brown. He's in North Carolina. He's still coaching. He could go. He lives there. He's had a house there even when he was at Texas. But someone like that, if he would be good for that particular role, but I don't think he's going to give that up. He'd be great for it.
Yeah, I'm sure he would be. And here in about a year and a half, when Todd Berry steps down, I guess they can look into him possibly being one of those candidates that gets that job ultimately. But did find that of interest when it comes to the AFCA. Elsewhere, I didn't get a chance to check out all of the NFL headlines today. I'm in the process of finishing a very lengthy kind of synopsis of Baylor football players in the NFL right now as we're starting to get into the second week of training camp and really pads starting to come on across the league. And so it's starting to spice up a little bit. But off the top of my head, I did notice Raleigh Tejada was released by the Green Bay Packers. This all within the last week or so. Henry Black got picked up by the Falcons. He had
Packers. Wasn't he with the Packers?
No, he had been to start off his career, and then he went to and now I'm blanking again. He went to a second team, and then he got released after being, I think it was the Giants. He was with the Giants for a couple of months this offseason, got released there, and then got picked up by Atlanta just like a day or two later. So Henry Black's now on a roster. But, yeah, Raleigh Tejada got cut. It remains to be seen, going through the list of Baylor guys, there's a lot that are going to be borderline, like may or may not make it in practice squads and things like that. So I did want to make mention of Raleigh Tejada and Henry Black. And, a few days ago, Mark Vital, also released by the Kansas City Chiefs. So his NFL dreams for the time being come to a close. But what an interesting journey that young man's had, from Baylor basketball national champ to all of a sudden playing on the practice squad for the Chiefs and being on the sidelines in the midst of their playoff run last year.
I wonder if it wouldn't be advantageous for him to join one of these other leagues for a little bit.
Probably so. Actually play some football out there. And, there's options now. Unlike some years, now, guys, you don't make the NFL. There's the USFL, or there's the XFL, or there's the Fan Controlled Football League, or there's, whatever else is out there. CFL's out there. There was a time a few years ago, it was like you got cut, you had the CFL, or you were just totally screwed, basically. Maybe arena football. But, even that's kind of contracted a little bit from what I can gather. And we'll close it out with this, baseball. Big day in baseball, the trade deadline coming to a close. The Astros, for example, were very busy as they tried to fill some needs over the last few days. They acquired Trey Mancini, first baseman DH from the Orioles, also catcher Christian Vasquez from the Red Sox, and lefty reliever Will Smith from the Braves. So the Astros, one of the best teams in baseball, stocking up and sharpening their irons ahead of the postseason here. And I don't know we got another few weeks to go before that kicks off, but they're certainly going to be right there in the mix. Elsewhere, the Yankees, they're done with the Joey Gallo experiment. Us Rangers fans got to watch that for quite a long time, but they shipped him off to the Dodgers in exchange for right-hander Clayton Beeter. Beeter was a top 15 prospect per MLB Pipeline for L.A., but more so this is about Gallo because we watched him for so long here in Texas. It was clear the New York thing didn't work out, even with the last name being what it was. Like, that was like hey, he's one of us, basically, right? And he was just Joey Gallo when all was said and done. And I hate to bring this up because it does feature a former Baylor star, but Joey Gallo hitting 159. Max Muncy, former Baylor Bear with the Dodgers, hitting 162. They have the 4th and 7th lowest single-season batting averages ever in the live ball era. The 4th and 7th lowest single-season batting averages ever in the live ball era. That goes back to 1920, and now they'll be on the same team together. So adjust accordingly, Dodgers.
Yeah, well, I think Max has been kind of platooned this year, and he had some injuries. Now, of course, the biggest one you haven't even mentioned yet, Craig, which is Juan Soto.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that.
But I like all the moves most of the teams have made. The Yankees got Andrew Benintendi, which as a guy who helped the Red Sox win the 2018 World Series, it's another sad day where I have to watch a guy just be, dead to me as he goes to the Yankees, and probably helps them into the pennant. So the Astros have gotten a lot better in the last couple days. Not that they're in a 12-game lead. I'm kind of surprised the Mariners didn't do more, given that their spot and that they're pretty good and young and could maybe make a move. But I was surprised about that one.
Yeah, I mean, they're in contention, although it's still going to be hard for anybody to really compete with, the Astros, Yankees, and whatnot. But, yeah, I mean, Mariners sit pat. But as you mentioned, the biggest trade, saving the best for last, Juan Soto, incredible player. Washington Nationals is where you may have seen him previously, but now you will see him in the brown and yellow of the San Diego Padres. Probably the biggest mixed match of, color versus scenery. Like brown and yellow with the San Diego scenery is just kind of weird, but it works for them, especially when you're a good team. And certainly the Padres have been a very entertaining team to watch. But, yeah, Juan Soto and first baseman Josh Bell going to the Washington Nationals. And the return package, Nats get left-handed pitcher Mackenzie Gore, outfielder Robert Hassel III, shortstop C.J. Abrams, outfielder James Wood, right-handed pitcher Yarlin Susana, and I might be pronouncing that wrong. I apologize. And they also get first baseman DH Luke Voigt. So Juan Soto, now a member of the San Diego Padres, and you think about just the ridiculous amount of young talent that they have over there right now with Tatis and with Machado, and that's a big-time move. And those are former Rangers management guys in charge over in San Diego, and I wish that if any trade could happen, it would be to bring those guys back and let them run the Rangers.
Well, look, if you look at what is going on with the Padres right now, they also traded for Brandon Drury, who's a utility guy who's having his best overall season. He's got 20 home runs. He's hitting in the 270s. They brought him in as well. So their lineup, when Tatis gets back, which is, I think, here pretty soon, will be Tatis, Soto, Manny Machado, Josh Bell, Jerkson Profar, and Brandon Drury probably rotating a little bit there. Jake Cronenworth at second base is a really good player.
Stop. Can they pitch?
Oh, yeah, they can pitch. They're in the second spot of the wild card. Nomar Mazar and Will Myers are their left-right DHs. I mean, they are loaded in San Diego. And somebody trying to take out the Dodgers, the Dodgers, who I thought were going to swoop in at the end, the Padres would have a trade all worked out, and then the Dodgers come in like, no, here, Juan Soto's going to come here. But, yeah, they are pretty well loaded.
Yep, so Juan Soto, that's the big splash, now a San Diego Padre. Man, he was just repping the Nationals there in the home run derby like 2 weeks ago at this point?
Won a title just 2 years ago. Was it?
Yeah. So big news there in baseball as the trade deadline comes to a close. There's Juan Soto right there. Nice job, Garrett.
Oh, put it up. Put it up. The stat that was attached to that will be the first player in Major League history age 23 or younger to change teams mid-season the year that he was an all-star. He's 23 and already being traded because of the contract.
They also traded for Josh Hader, the closer from the Brewers, who's really, really good. So they are Jorge Alfaro's their catcher.
Yeah, he's a Ranger.
Yeah,
so was Profar. So was Mazzara. Yeah. They're real great organization.
Profar, who was going to be the next superstar of the Rangers, and I love the guy, but didn't work
I mean, that was the whole thing. But you start talking about Mazzara, and it's just it's a little bit frustrating.
That's why they suck.
Yeah, that's why they stink.
And they're rebuilding yet again.
Yep, but there's a few things off the radar.
Thank you, Craig. Also, one note, the Cowboys at wide receiver James Washington, we mentioned this, but he's out. Paul, 6 to 10 weeks.
10 weeks.
It's never... It's always a wide open bubble with them. We've discussed this. It's never like you see 2 to 4 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks, or 6 to 10 weeks. I've never actually seen that I can remember 6 to 10 weeks.
He's out 10 weeks or more. He's got Jones fracture. He's out. Six weeks is if his bones somehow heal faster than normal humans.
So having said that, then who will they replace? Who are they going to sign? There's a lot of Odell Beckham.
According to Jerry today, there's no urgency. He likes the young guys.
Yeah. Well,
everybody there.
They have had probably as much fortunes with young, sometimes non-drafted or undrafted receivers, and even late receivers than most anybody else, and it still hasn't been able to get them into a championship game.
I was going to say, like, you say this, and I get why. I mean, the way that they bounce into lucky situations, but how much luck are we talking about, really? Like, what have they won in 30 years?
No, that's my point, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, who cares? Like, who cares if it might be 6 or might be 10? It's really just all going to end in the same way anyway, so it's not like they're getting that much of a great, amount of luck out of it.
No, nobody squanders luck like the
Exactly.
Cowboys do.
If
Like,
anything,
they absolutely squander it. They have seasons where they've not played the starting quarterback in like 8 of 12 weeks and then somehow lose half those games.
Yeah.
Like what goes on there is mind-boggling.
They've hit on an undrafted free agent quarterback who was really, really a stats compiler. I mean, he was good, and they did not do anything other than win. They did win. They even won a playoff game or two. And then they have a 4th-round pick at quarterback, and here they've done the same thing. But will they ever get over the top? And, of course, they will get a lot of publicity for that. But that's not a good sign. You lose an offensive lineman early, and then not a starter, and then you also have what happened with James Washington. Boy, he was a great player. Was it Stanford High School? One of the best small school high school players I've ever seen in the state of Texas. All right, that it, Craig? Everything good with that? James Washington out for 8 to 10 or 6 to 10, whatever weeks you want to say. We'll have John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist, in a little bit. His thoughts about many things, including Deshaun Watson, including the Dolphins and what happened with them as well. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, 1943. I got an email from Braden Embry. He and I communicate quite a bit. Anything new that's happening, he said we are just around the corner, literally just around the corner from new information on their brand new facility that they've been building. They've been in Waco. They've been in Bryan. They're in both cities, Waco and Bryan, pioneerboys.com. Metal, steel pipe, around since 1943. Great customer service, history, and, of course, tradition as well. And they have built this brand new building. It's not quite ready for show, but it's close. And it will only make them bigger, better, faster, and stronger, but they will always have the core of what has helped them fight off some of the big box stores, including the fact that tradition, customer service, and products since 1943. So coming up pretty soon, new information about their brand new facility that they're proud of, and they should be, along with 1943, pioneerboys.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of health care while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of health care has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? by not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference, and that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Corral pumps. Pressure again, and they get to him. That was Cole Maxwell.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
I don't know sometimes, and I'm not the smartest brick or even person in this room, and I'm okay with that. The 304, did you see where El Chapo escaped again? You hear that?
No.
I don't know if this is 304. You hooked me here on. He put out a video saying he was done selling drugs. He's going to smuggle chicken wings. No. Says more money in them than drugs now. I think I just got.
Yeah, that's a total BS. But yeah, don't let that stop you from.
If you opened up a restaurant, one that you didn't want to have to make it so much, it's like a big. But if you opened up a restaurant right now, what would be the one main go-to product or food that you think would probably be the biggest hit? Because there's tacos, there's chicken wings, pizza. Which one would it be?
I would pick the food that's the lowest cost with the highest markup.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's a good business.
So, I mean, you know, Italian food's kind of like that.
That's expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, like, you can make it more expensive as you go, but.
Or like a food truck business. Would you can you do Italian food with a food truck business?
You could maybe do like meatball subs or something out of a food truck.
But
spaghetti out of a food truck would maybe be problematic.
But the tacos and chicken wings, to me, would be, you could do burgers and all, but tacos and chicken wings, to me, would be pretty quick, pretty easy.
Yeah. Wings, though, fluctuate in price so much, so it might be kind of a pain.
I love me some chicken wings. In fact, I find myself now watching the Food Network more than I watch anything else combined. I don't know why. Maybe I just think Guy Fieri's cute. I don't know, or whoever it is.
What?
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. God. Oh, my God. I do. I just sit there, just runs over and over and over again.
I'm like that with the first 48. So, yeah
you are.
Wildly different takes. And I don't really think too much about how the cops look, I'll be perfectly honest with you. But, yeah, it's entertaining. And I don't know about the food truck. I have no idea.
Roger Dodger says French fries. There's a food truck in Waco that's like a French fry food truck now.
With different toppings on it?
Yeah, like different kind of French fries. I guess a kind of American version of what poutine, I guess. But, yeah, they have different things that they do.
So. When I was a kid in Japan, we used to take a break. We'd go to the on campus at Chofu High School, And the biggest thing, for whatever reason, that became a hit was fries with gravy. We loved it. It was like a hot, that's what we wanted.
That's poutine.
Poutine. That's what he's talking about. Yeah, it's Canadian dish.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm
Miguel Ramirez says burrito tacos. I completely agree. I don't know. I feel a little bit mad that it's kind of a new thing. So I don't know if that's something that just made it to America, or I feel like we've been held out on. I'm just telling you, because I love burrito tacos.
The DA, I've never understood the fascination with the food networks. I do not get it. I love the cook. It's not that I'm a very good cook, but I love the cook, and I'm just kind of fascinated by some of the different things that we see and how many different places can be highlighted, which means there's just thousands of great restaurants apparently around the country. From Sir, Freedom Fries. What are those?
That's a very old joke from 2003.
I know some of you now. French fries and lots of them. Welcome to Flavor Town from Justin R. That's the one. The corn dog truck here in Utah. All right, we went off the rails on that one. It was a little bit too much. How many different college programs and universities, actually, how many programs are there that play college football in the country at every level? This number can't be right. I saw this. I never read it. I just saw the number. I'm not sure if it's true or not.
300 something, 400 something. I don't know. I've never actually even thought about it.
Yeah, I've never thought about
it. The National Football Foundation, which I get the email, it's a great site. It's a great thing to be a part of. Football remains strong. 774 colleges and universities are offering football. I can't imagine there's that many offering. Football currently stands at 774. The total number includes one college football team that will take the field for the first time this season and 6 new programs that will start football in the coming years. Hilbert College launching their program this year out of New York, out of Hamburg, New York. Did you realize there were that many? I thought 300 or 400 would. 131 FCS or whatever that number is. FBS. The amount of increase since 1978 is 181 schools.
Well, I guess we don't have to worry about contraction then, because clearly everybody's making a buck.
125 junior colleges. They do include 16 NAIA women's flag football programs. So 774, that's a number that I would have been at probably closer to what you said, Paul, 350 to 400. But that's a lot more than I ever thought it could possibly be. All right, when we come back, Hall of Fame columnist John McClain, a lot to get to, including yesterday his thoughts. Of course, that he covers the Texans. He covers all of the NFL, Deshaun Watson and the Browns and that ruling, along with the Dolphins and what happened to them today with their hand more than slapped. In fact, part of it cut off. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. The city of Woodway. Discover Woodway.com. If you are coming to Waco for whatever reason, maybe you're just on a trip of tourism because the tourism here is better than it's ever been before, and it's been really growing for the last 10 years. You're coming in eventually for a Baylor football game coming up this fall, and you're looking for a hotel, you can't find one, that as well, or you're coming because of your visiting family. DiscoverWoodway.com can help you find 7 different options for hotels outside of Waco proper, Woodway and Hewitt and all that area, but Discover Woodway right on the southern part of Waco as well. You can find the 7 hotels for whatever reason you're in town, and also concerts at the Arboretum coming up September the 9th featuring Jacko Pierce. That's one of the concerts. They do this quite a bit, of course, at the Arboretum and also the Carling Bright Arboretum that is so beautiful to hold events, whether it's symposiums, weddings, rehearsal dinners, things like that, Paul, in case you don't do it in Nashville, or other just business events and fundraisers. DiscoverWoodway.com.
Cars priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on on us, a dealer to trust. Have Richard Car in Waco, Texas.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist's office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com. Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. And you're about to approach this time of the year where you have the holidays, special gifts. It's not that you don't have that every single day. What are some of the things you have coming up?
We kind of call ourselves the wedding ring store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves. Probably 9 out of 10 every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with NFL Hall of Fame columnist John McClain. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Hall of Famer John McClain, Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's also a part of the committee that handles and who makes it into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which he's in as well. Joins us, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. John, there's always going to be the debate about Deshaun Watson. Was it long enough, short enough, whatever in between? I know the Dolphins are in the news today. We'll get to that as well. But are you kind of just glad there's a conclusion with Deshaun Watson, although there still can be the appeal?
Yeah, if they appeal, and then if the union doesn't like it, they'll file suit in federal court. Then Watson will play till the judges tell him, you bargained this collectively, you handled it. And like Brady, remember, they wanted to suspend Brady, I think it was in 15, and then he sued in federal court. He lost, and he was suspended at the start of 16. Watson should not want to be suspended in 23 when he makes $45 million instead of this year when he makes $1 million, and won't be fined but $333,000 a game if it sticks. So the reason it was too lenient even though the judge eviscerated him, called him, said he had sexual intent, not therapeutic, said it was egregious, just tore him up. And she believed the women, but she only did 6 games, and people are like, that's outrageous. Well, the reason is she called it nonviolent. And here in Houston, a lot of people are saying, well, if she'd have been in one of those rooms with him and he had done to her what the women allege he did to them, and she agreed with the women, she might not call it nonviolent.
Yeah, John, that was kind of a puzzling explanation. I don't know if I've ever heard that before. I mean, and do you think that Roger Goodell will push this much further when if they do appeal?
Paul, everybody thinks that he will, but it's a new process agreed on in the collective bargaining agreement in 2020. So both sides agreed to an independent arbitrator, in this case, Judge Sue L. Robinson. And so if he increases it, to me, that makes her look bad. But the way she set it up by making Watson look awful, she's like setting it up, okay, hit it out of the park. And they take into consideration when they make decisions the court of public opinion, and they're just getting ripped up one side and down the other. She is for only giving him 6 games. It's the same number of games as DeAndre Hopkins for traces of a substance that's been banned. That is, let's see, 11 games less than Falcons receiver Calvin Ridley got for betting $1,050 in his name, not even on the Falcons. And it's a lot less than a lot of players have gotten. Of course, they're all under different categories. This is involving the conduct policy. So I don't know. I haven't talked to anyone that said, yeah, boy, right on. That's exactly what it should have been.
Yeah, John, it's just all very strange. So I think you said this at the beginning, was to kind of circle back. So they have until, Thursday to appeal, if that's what they choose to do?
3 days after the ruling.
Okay, and the NFL would just submit an appeal, and then where do they go from there?
Yeah, then Roger Goodell will decide if they're going to appeal to Roger Goodell.
Right, yeah.
And then he can have a designee to handle it, which he does a lot of the times. But the designee is going to do what Goodell wants to do because he works for him. And so then say they added 2 games and Watson's side goes, yeah, okay, we'll take it. We won't go to federal court. But, they don't want to go to federal court. But if they have to, they have to, because this sets a precedent. And there have been some dumb PR moves made today. First, yesterday was the Haslam saying that we know Watson's remorseful. When he said publicly he's not, he has no regrets. He didn't do anything wrong. Yeah. They're all making it up. And then Stephen Ross today putting out a release that he'd been exonerated from the tanking allegations, which he was not. So it's amazing sometimes when you see people that are so successful seem to be so brain dead on some issues.
Well, on that Stephen Ross and tanking and tampering and all that, how mad does this make the other owners? They've got problems. They've had ownership, issues with owners the last couple of years. Dan Snyder's still out there doing whatever Dan Snyder's doing, but it's not like you just go flip a billionaire like that. Like, how mad is the NFL really at Stephen Ross?
They're angry that he did something as stupid as he did, which was try to recruit Brady and Sean Payton. And I contend Brady should have had a penalty. They've exonerated him, but if he's talking to them while he's under contract to the Patriots and the Buccaneers, that's not right. To me, you shouldn't get off scot-free. And then they admitted he talked to his agent, Donald Yee. And I think what Snyder gets will be so much more. And I don't think they'll ever try to make an owner sell a team because those owners know secrets. And if you sue, it opens you up to disclosure. And the owners don't want to open their books. You think Jerry Jones wants to open his books? Stan Kroenke, that's one reason the city of St. Louis got $800 million from the NFL because they didn't want to open their books. They'll tell them what they got going on. But I do think that Snyder will get the biggest fine in history. And I'm surprised that they didn't make Ross sit out the whole year, where he couldn't do anything. Giving him 3 months or whatever it was, so what? That doesn't mean anything. Just like that $1.5 million fine, it doesn't mean squat to Stephen Ross, a multi-billionaire New York real estate investor.
Yeah, when I was kind of moving around and I saw the story, I'm like, tampering? And I reacted, and I'm not trying to – I was more like, oh, my God, tampering, more than I was with Watson. Not that one's not horrible and the other one's just bad, wrong for the Shield, but it was like tampering. They'll probably throw the book at him. How and is it the reason then only because of the fact, like you said, he'll turn everybody else in?
I think that's just it. They don't want to be sued and have to open the books. And the thing about the tanking, the only thing that could hurt the NFL's popularity is if the public thought the games weren't on the up and up. And the NFL is projected to make $100 billion from gambling over the next 5 years. Well, hey, they encourage gambling. They don't want anything out that makes you think an owner's trying to get his team to lose. Now, Brian Flores refused to do it, and he won 7 games, which is the reason he got fired. And the bottom line on all this for the Dolphins, I think if they just taken Justin Herbert instead of Tua Tagovailoa, they wouldn't be having any of these issues because Herbert is great, the next best thing, and they wouldn't have needed to go after Brady illegally. Remember, Ross and Brady's relationship goes back to Michigan, where Brady played, and Ross is one of the university's biggest benefactors.
John, what do you think about your Astros haul at the trade deadline?
Well, they didn't give up squat, and because they didn't give up any of their top AAA players, and Trey Mancini's better than what they got. The only hitter they have not in a slump is Jordan Alvarez, who plays regularly now. Almeida Diaz is playing full time because he's hitting, but the others, Tucker, Altuve, Brantley's been hurt for weeks with a bad shoulder, and getting Christian Vasquez, his last game of the Red Sox, he's back in cleanup. And Martin Maldonado, even though he hit better in July, he's so good they pulled him for a pinch hitter last night and put a guy in shouldn't even be in the major leagues. And so it's both of those with Mancini and Vasquez are upgrades. And the reason they traded for Will Smith, who was great last year and is stinking it up this year, is they only have one lefty on their staff, and that's Framber Valdez. Their pitchers have done a really good job pitching the lefties, but Smith's a lefty. If he'd been a righty, no way they would have made that deal.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's amazing how many trades there were and what you have with the Astros and Yankees in a completely different stratosphere than the rest of the American League. And the Yankees, the Astros have won that season series, right? They're done playing until they meet in the playoffs?
Nope, they got another series. They're 5-2. And in those 7 games, the Yankees have not led for 1 inning. And both teams upgraded. And right now, the Astros are 3 games behind them for the best record in the American League.
Yeah.
That's the best race between the 2 best teams. And the Dodgers, I see a lot of people think all of a sudden the Padres are going to turn around and be a World Series contender. I think people don't pay attention to the depth and talent the Dodgers have, and they got players out. And when those guys get healthy, watch out. It could be Yankees and Dodgers. Of course, we hope it'll be the Astros. Mattress Mac, our furniture salesman down here in our country's foremost gambler, he bet $10 million on the Astros. If they win the World Series, he'll make $79 million, the most ever made by anybody on a sporting event in the country.
Isn't it amazing that you can bet that kind of money and not be afraid to lose it?
Well, he edges his bets. He sells so much furniture. It's unbelievable. By the way, I'd like to promote that's on my Twitter, McLean_on_NFL. I'm starting to do 2 Texans podcasts a week for my radio station, Sports Radio 610, doing them on the Texans with Sean Pendergast, one of my morning co-hosts. And soon, like within the next 2 weeks, I'll have 2 new jobs that I'm about to start that require me to write again.
Whoa. You're going to let us know soon enough, right?
I will as soon as they announce them here.
We're proud of you, man. You're the best. Thank
you very much, guys.
John McLean, Hall of Fame NFL writer on many topics today, including some news that he's about to start writing again. It's 5:48. Paul Catalina's Top 5. Next, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Make this a summer sales event is happening now at Allen Samuels on the new 2022 Ram 1500 Crew Cab Lone Star. With special values up to $7,000 or get $1,500 bonus cash and 2.9% for 72 months. Ram trucks are designed to be durable, functional, and stylish. This legendary, award-winning truck gives you that first-class feel. Allen Samuels in Waco, the place to shop for Ram trucks. First responders get $500 extra cash.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
It's summertime. There's picnics, reunions, cookouts, and so much to do. And Waco Custom Marketplace on Lake Air Drive in Waco is your home for the butcher shop that can help you with beef, pork, poultry, and seafood. They are spectacular at being able to deliver you whatever cut of steak you want. Bone-in ribeye, however thick you want it, that's great. They'll do it. Sirloin, T-bone, porterhouse, bacon wrap filet. And of course, as I mentioned, they have pork, poultry, and seafood. Their Norwegian salmon is spectacular. Also, all of the sauces and seasonings you'll ever need, all the ingredients you'll ever need to make sure you have that perfect, flawless taste. So it's delicious whenever you take something off the grill. And a full-fledged bakery as well, with fresh baked bread and kolaches every single day. Up and down the aisle of Waco Custom Marketplace, you also have what you need, from knickknacks to snacks to more, at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, Waco Custom Marketplace.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, behind the bank.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
All right, top 5 teams in need of a QB in this cycle. Now that Austin Novosad has made his commitment to Baylor, brought Glenn to Ohio State, the list is getting smaller, and there were teams in the mix for a lot of these guys that are now kind of out in the cold, and I think there might be 2 or 3 4-star guys uncommitted right now, and the rest then you're getting into, of course, you know, you can grab a 3-star guy and develop him, and they're not always right, but it will make people desperate. Number 5, West Virginia. Yes, they just got JT Daniels. I know they have a quarterback next year, but Graham Harrell coming in, you would think if you're planning out, you want to sign a quarterback in this cycle. They don't have one committed, and I think if they want to be on the upswing and really start getting some recruits to come in and stay there, they've got to get a quarterback to build that class around. They don't have one right now.
You know, the JT, so much focus about JT Daniels that you almost forget about the future. Of course, West Virginia fans haven't forgotten about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to, look up classes as we do this because I have no idea out of memory, where people sit and all that. And so West Virginia's got, they're a top 30 class right now, I guess. 17 commits and, no quarterback. So, I mean, pretty much, I guess the rule of thumb is to have at least one in every class as best you can. And We saw with Mac Brown what can happen when you try to go all in on a guy, which is why the Novosad thing was such a big deal for Baylor, was because that's what they were risking. They were totally all in on him, and if they didn't get him, they were pretty much screwed. And so that's why it was a massive win, other than just beating Ohio State and A&M and whoever else. But, yeah, you'd like to have one in every class. And, I'm at this point, I think we're all so dadgum ready for the freaking season to just start. Like, geez Louise, man.
I can't wait to start doing top 5 games.
I am, but I'm not. I just a little more time.
Yeah.
By the way, Tom Harvey on the chat room, West Virginia has a 4-star true freshman on their roster.
Yeah, but see, that doesn't.
I know.
He's not this cycle.
Yeah, but
like,
Baylor didn't have one last year. Did they have 22? Didn't they skip a year?
No, that's why I said they're all in on.
Yeah, that's right.
Novosad.
They had drones, right?
He was a freshman last year.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. Number 4, I'm sorry. Florida State had Chris Parson committed for a very long time. Now he's not committed. And looks like he might be going to Mississippi State, who might be on this list as well. But FSU does not have a quarterback. Mike Norvell needs one. Jordan Travis is, getting towards the end of his eligibility. They've got some younger guys in there that they, like A.J. Duffy from last year's class. But again, if it's about signing a quarterback in every class, because the way that the portal works now, Florida State's really up against it because they lost Parson. They didn't get Brock Glenn, and they lost Parson because they went after Brock Glenn and all of that. So who knows what's going to happen there. But Mike Norvell, again, another recruiting battle that he probably isn't going to win here now. And he needs to start winning some.
Yeah, I mean, you tell me, you're the Knoll.
Yeah.
I mean, if you say so, then they do.
Yeah. Number 3, Mississippi State, the place. They need a quarterback, but it does look like they're probably going to get Chris Parson. But he's, taking other visits. And look, now that he might be the highest-ranked quarterback left, and there's some of these other, schools in the water, Mississippi State might not be all that big on Chris Parsons' list. Now, he might like Mike Leach, and why wouldn't you? But, Mississippi State. And another reason I say Mississippi State in this list is they're in the SEC West, and everybody around them seems to be getting quarterback except for one team, at least this year, and they're also on this list. But everybody else is kind of getting in that game. And while Mike Leach doesn't need a 4-star guy to win, I think to win games, but to maybe make strides in the conference, he needs to start doing that.
He does in the SEC.
Yeah.
He needs something because, I mean, he doesn't necessarily have to be a 4-star like you said, but it can't be just some Joe Schmo going up against the Bama defense and the Georgia defense and all that and just thinking you're just going to whip it around for, 67 attempts a game.
By the way, I think Bama has the number 6 and 7 guys both committed in their own class.
Don't they have like the numbers 1 and 3 or 2 and 3 running backs? And here they just came with an avalanche of like, bam, in about a 2-week period, they're right where they usually end up.
Yeah, number 2, Notre Dame. Missed out on Austin Novosad, among others, and now they have to kind of go and find their quarterback in this class. Something I'm sure Marcus Freeman will eventually figure out, but the quarterback position at Notre Dame hasn't been set up even as well as they've played over the last couple of years, set up just with the line of succession that they normally had in the past. So right now Notre Dame's looking for a quarterback after Austin Novosad committed to Baylor.
Part of the deal with Novosad and Notre Dame was obviously that they got in late. A&M knew they could come in late. And Ohio State came in late, but they also knew they could as well.
They're Ohio State.
The deal with Notre Dame is that one of the things that was very intriguing to Austin was their academics. Well, you could say that about a couple of others too, but the academics and who you are after you leave as a Notre Dame grad. Not that you don't have that at Ohio State or A&M or Baylor, but that really was a tug to him, no question.
If you're the winning quarterback on a Notre Dame football team, I doubt you want for anything for the rest of your life.
Last two was the last one. National championship quarterback at Notre Dame.
Was it Tony Rice?
Tony Rice in, I think, 88 with Lou Holtz.
Yeah. Number 1, Texas A&M. Missed out on Eli Holstein. Missed out on Austin Novosad. So now you wonder where they're going to go. Look, they've got some young guys. Like Haynes King is only a sophomore, and Connor Weigman is a true freshman. They have plenty of depth there, but they were really going hard after a quarterback in this cycle, and if they get one, I doubt it's going to be one that's ranked very high. So A&M now kind of set into scramble mode when it comes to the quarterback. I know they hosted Malachi Nelson, but I don't think that's really going to happen. I think that's more of just a fact-finding mission on Nelson's part.
Well, again, he's got USC, and he was there. Was he committed originally
to Oklahoma.
Craig to Oklahoma, and Riley switched, so that's one of those. But, yeah, Malachi Nelson at least visiting, it was kind of interesting. Maybe they knew then that Novosad was not going to work out. Maybe that's why they we know Ohio State got Glenn, over the weekend, the quarterback. So maybe they, hey, Malachi, come here. Let's see what we can do. Whether that's true or not, I think since he was at Oklahoma, with Riley was going to be there, that he's pretty much going to stay at USC where Riley is.
Yeah, that's what I would assume. And for A&M, I mean, it's a problem. I saw what did you say about Chris Parson earlier?
Mississippi State looks the leader right now, but look, there's all these other teams in the water now.
Yeah, I mean, A&M, I just saw some random article mentioning him with them as well, and I mean, they'll be on the hunt, that's for sure. But yeah, A&M, I think that's their big question mark. It sure seemed like every fan base that was pursuing Novosad thought that they were going to land him. I mean, I think Ohio State probably feels like, well, if we had really there's all of that. If we really wanted it, well, A&M clearly really wanted him because they need him. Notre Dame clearly wanted him. I think Ohio State actually can strike out, and as we saw, they got a quarterback the same time frame. So they'll be fine. But yeah, for Notre Dame and A&M in particular, it's a big question mark.
Two of those five, you're right, were the ones that had a chance, and they don't have the quarterback because of the decision with Austin Novosad to remain committed, reaffirm this commitment. In the Sikkim365.com, the premium section, Grayson's interview from earlier today is up. Also on the various social medias. Ours will be up soon as well, or we hope it will be. And again, thank you to everyone, this staff that we have. Emery, Jack, Garrett, Levi, Jacob, who was here today, Craig and Paul, sponsors, chat, text, and everybody a part of what you do with us on Sikkim 365 and 365 Sports. We appreciate it. And, of course, Colt, Brian, and Ashley, our partners. Good night, Sikkim 365 Radio. Have a great night.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.